So 2011X or just X is another retake of, well, the original EXE, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about this guy. And oh boy, there is a lot to this guy that really surprised me. So let's just not sit here and waste any more time and just get right into it. So I was expecting this guy to be a pretty simple retake of the original character. Not really too much to them, but I was completely wrong, and there's actually, like, a lot to them. I feel like with the original EXE, you kind of just have to sit there and wonder, like, a bunch of aspects to the character. Like, why does he kill? Why does he do any of, like, the things he does? Who knows? Who cares? It's a bad creepypasta. To explain his origins, he was basically born in the void. Basically, this matter decided to, like, smash into each other, creating him, and for a little while, he decided to explore space. But then he eventually stumbled upon Earth. This started up his fascination with humans and, like, Sonic the Hedgehog as a whole, and he wanted to basically, like, enslave the human race, basically turning the world into a toy for him. He eventually found out about, like, this extremely good, like, programmer. Okay, so try to stay with me here, because the details might get a little messy. This programmer died and X decided to basically make his own little world. The whole thing about this is that the guy extremely sucks at programming. Like, he's not good at it, and in fact doesn't even really like doing it to begin with. But he tried his best. He sort of made like this weird flat layout of Sonic's world to the best of his ability, making these rooms. So I don't know if this is like before or after, but eventually he was able to copy himself a vessel of Sonic. But doing this made his eyes go into extreme pain, bleeding and all that. And this explains the origins of why his eyes are like the way they are. This isn't really a detail that needed to be explained, but I honestly do think it's a cool detail to explain, like, the way he is. Like, I think that's genuinely cool instead of just, well, you're just kind of supposed to wonder about that. But anyways, I don't know when this came into the story, but X is kind of unable to interact with the human world. But he sort of can by basically dragging out somebody's, like, soul. But the first time he did this, it, like, didn't go out well, so that's, like, two things he's not good at. He can't program and he doesn't even know how to kill people. He literally ripped open somebody's body and he decided, alright, I gotta be more careful with this next time, and just decided to just take the soul out of people. That's literally it. He decided to learn from that and improved. So eventually the cops decided to get involved with this, realizing, some people might be getting murdered, so let's go investigate this. And they dubbed it the Sonic.EXE case, and EXE was like, alright, that's my name now. And that is basically it for his origins. I don't feel like I missed all that much. Well, there is, like, the game he originates from. I guess I could talk about that for a little bit. So, Sonic.EXE 2011 is just a remake of the original game. There's, like, some improvements to it, some added stuff to it, and it overall is just a nice remake to the original game. If you, the player, decide to play it, well, you know what you're in for. You just go through the levels and get killed by X, but there are some secrets you can stumble upon if you want to, like, go look for them. But even if you decide to do that, well, it's all just going to end the same. You die like everybody else, and that's basically it. You know, X will basically taunt you and all that and just say, like, oh, you trying to think out of the box, my friend? But overall, 2011X or just X actually works pretty well as a good replacement for the original character. I like that they explain little details to him that didn't really need to be explained, but that stuff is just nice added additions to him. There were some pretty interesting things I did learn about him, like, he'll just rig the game like you're in. Like, if you don't, like, follow his rules, he'll just kill you because why not? He's impatient. There are some nice little changes to the 2011 game, like, in the original EXE creepypasta, they explained that in, like, the Eggman level there's curtains, but in the game there's no curtains, the original one. But in the 2011 game, there's curtains. Interesting. If you want to try to escape or avoid X, you can't. If you try to wait for, like, the timer to reach, like, you know, I think around 10 minutes, you'll just get killed anyways, or in the Tails level when you try to run away from him, he'll just get dragged to him. Those were just some little things I wanted to bring up. They're nice additions to the game, so there's not much else left to just get into, like, his design. X has a pretty simple design, but I guess that's why it works. It's just, like, pretty simple. Tries to stay as accurate to, like, the original design. I know what this is based off of, like, this really poorly, like, drawn image of, like, this half Sonic and half EXE. Like, the posing is kind of similar. Man, what else can I say about this design, really? It's just a nice, simple design, and that's just really why it works. Just, it's simple, and that's really it. So that's 2011X. I honestly think he's a pretty good retake of the original character, and I wasn't expecting them to explain certain details to his origins. Like, they didn't need to do that, but it honestly is just, like, nice additions to this, like, retake of the character. Knowing certain details about this guy honestly makes him kinda scary. Like, he doesn't, like, terrify me, but he's, like, a little bit of, like, more of a threat than the original EXE. I really wasn't expecting him to have, like, a lot of content to him, but he did, and it's honestly he's just a nice retake of the original character. So, that's basically it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Lord.EXE, probably one of the most iconic EXEs out there, and probably like the video game mascot equivalent for EXEs. It's like, who doesn't know who Lord.EXE is? He's pretty iconic. Like, your friends gotta know who he is, your family probably knows who he is, heck, even like, I don't know, your teachers probably know who he is. He's pretty iconic. I've known about Lord.EXE for a pretty long time now. He's like something that's been in the back of my mind for probably years at this point. He's just, like, rent-free in my mind. He comes by to say hi every once in a while and come to visit, and yeah, he disappears, and we'll probably see each other again at some point. That's basically it. So let's talk about our favorite crusty, dusty hedgehog, Lord.EXE, and just go over him today. The format for this video is a bit different from the other EXE videos I made. Just kind of want you guys to just take in this character and his beauty, so yeah, let's begin. So I usually call these segments backstories, but I feel like Origins makes a bit more sense for Lord.EXE. So there's like a lot to this character, and I mean a lot. So I'm gonna try my best to explain everything about this character. Not like going over everything, but I'm gonna try to explain as much as I can. So Lord.EXE is like this void matter, and he's been around for around like 10 years to be exact, which is kinda long. Now something I find interesting is that on the wiki they mention like why his appearance just looks kinda off, which seems to be the reason of like the void matter going around his whole body. I'm probably getting the name a little bit wrong, but anyways, like there's this really interesting fact that explains that his shoes are like his actual feet, and like they collapsed in on themselves. It's a minor detail, but it's a nice way of explaining why his whole appearance looks like it's just dying on itself. But I can get into minor details later about this guy. I gotta get into like, the actual stuff, his actual, origins, backstory. So basically, Lord.EXE is your old best friend. He's come to pay you a visit and just show you how he's grown. So, you know what you do? You go through Sonic 1 as Tails. Well, not just Sonic 1, but a PC port of it. Actually, to let you know, there's like two versions of this like PC port game. The one with this design we all know, and the one with this more off design, which I actually kinda like a little bit. I guess I'll give a small summary of this version of the game with this design. It's like an extended version of the traditional PC port. There's like this cool ending scene at the end of the game, and that's all I could say about it. I think I like this version of the game a little more with this design, but anyways, you're just going through Sonic 1 as Tails. At first everything's kinda normal, but then as you go on, everything starts to get weird, and then you find Sonic. After all of this, you end up in Angel Island Zone, everything is on fire, eventually your Tails can get eaten or you can get burned alive. You then eventually get chased down by the dude, but actually, you're fine after getting chased. And then you encounter a dead-end wall, decide to go back the other way, another dead-end wall, and then Lord.EXE kills you. And that's it. After this, you can go into the game's text files and start talking to Tails, but then Lord.EXE just gets mad at you and he tells you to stop talking to him, and I just love it. He eventually gets sick of your crap and then the game just finally ends. That's it. So yeah, that's just Lord.EXE for ya. He came to visit you and decided to leave because you were talking to Tails. Alright, so now I can get into little facts about the guy, and there's like a decent amount of stuff, like he apparently hates human EXEs. Don't know why, I'd like to know. I sorta want to get into the 7 Guardians. I'm not gonna cover them here, I could make a separate video about them, but I think they're actually kinda cool. They're basically just his lackeys that help him out and keep watch of his world. That's kinda it. All of the Guardians represent something. I don't think I'm gonna be going into it here, but yeah, that's all I can say for now. Now, something I find interesting is that Lord.EXE based his entire world around Sonic. Not like to complete accuracy from like what the wiki mentions, but at points, there's times where he went to like the further parts of the Sonic series, which seems to be true because he probably killed Cream. Like, just look at what happened to her. She's just dead inside, kinda. So I never go out of my way to mention this, but on the wiki, his voice actor is just unknown. I never bring this kind of stuff up, but like, I just find that to be very interesting. Like, who voices this dude? There's 2 more things I'd like to go into. Like, Lord.EXE doesn't actually believe himself to be an actual god. He just says it to mock religion, which I think is pretty funny and kinda cool. He doesn't need to eat food, but he takes pleasure in it. Just wanted to bring that up. There's way more facts about him, like him being able to play the piano and him originally looking like a goat, which is all pretty cool, but I now just want to finally get into his design. This is a pretty iconic design, and it's not bad. You got the black shoes, the X on his chest, the whiskers. It's a pretty iconic design, and it's not bad at all. I wish I had more to say about this design, but I just really don't. I don't have any issues with it. It's just a good design. It is mentioned that he has several different forms. To give my thoughts on, like, I guess these two I found, they're not bad or anything, but not really my favorite. I think I like this one a little bit more. I genuinely wish I had more to say, but I just don't, so that's it. So, that's Lord X. He never was particularly one of my favorite EXEs. I never had a dislike for him, but reading his wiki kinda made me like him a little bit more and sorta gave me a new appreciation for him. I guess I would say he's one of my favorites, and he's kinda cool, so yeah, that's it. That's Lord X. Pretty cool EXE and pretty interesting. Thanks for watching and bye. Faker. We all know about Faker, or EXE. Like your granddad probably knows about him, your dog knows about him, like anybody knows about Faker. I am actually surprised I've never talked about this guy until now, so let's just get right into it. Peering into a face like mine, light of line. Our story begins with Faker starting off as an experiment from X, but he instantly became an outcast. Because of this, now he wants to gain vengeance on anybody that wronged him. Faker physically wants you to rip yourself apart inside, actually see you suffer and feel pain. He has a game that he needs to spread around, so he does this through his Harbingers, which is basically the equivalent of Lord X's Guardians, but for Faker. All of the Harbingers represent a certain emotion Faker has, but overall, their goal is to spread their game around on Earth. And that's basically the whole gist of Faker's story. It's not overly deep or anything, but I think it's actually pretty decent. It's a simple story about an outcast that got kicked away from their creator, going on their own terms to do what they want to do and gain revenge and send their game around. Now let me just say that this story is not finished as of right now. From what I heard, Faker is going to get his own comic, which is actually pretty cool. So that will probably give us far more details. He's also getting his own games, so I don't know how progress on that is doing, so whenever those come out, that will give us far more details on the guy. I honestly wish I had far more to say on it, but I just really don't. It's overall a pretty simple story that I kinda like. So now I guess we'll get into some interesting facts. I feel like you should unwind and take a breather. Oh man, there are a lot of interesting little facts that come out of, Faker. So I could have brought this up in Origins, but it wasn't too important. So Faker stores his victims in the Black Sun. Well, an equivalent of the sun that is called the Black Sun. There's no picture of this that I was able to find, but try to imagine a solar eclipse. That's the Black Sun in a nutshell. I feel like that's gotta be the most interesting way to keep your victims together. Now, something more interesting is that these victims leak out into Sonic characters. So I guess imagine black gooiness that turns into a Sonic character. Interestingly enough is that when you become a Sonic character, your form is either gonna look good, or it's gonna look like this guy. Speaking of that guy, apparently he's based off of something, but I'm not really sure. I think he's the guy in the black cloak that you could see. That guy just near the monitor box. I would bring up something interesting about all of these guys, but I kinda forgot. The Tails doll, from what I remember, got ripped up by a dog and was given to a kid. And the cloak guy goes around killing people in specific housing. It's kind of interesting, actually. This was something that I feel like I should have brought up earlier, in the Origins part, but it wasn't, I guess, too important. But if Faker entered our world, all hope would be lost. You can't really kill the guy unless you decide to do a ritual, but the only way of accessing that is through a random EXE out there. Faker has this whole big thing to do with humans, but I'd never really brought that up. I really should have until right now I'm doing it. But yeah, if he entered our world, we'd all be screwed. I feel like this is a really interesting concept that's never been looked into before. You've never been able to no one's really ever thought of it. Can you kill an EXE or has ever dabbled into that concept? And Faker is probably the only one, to have this to him. There's not really many interesting things to get into next. Like, he can't play any instruments, but he's good at playing chess. A lot of his story has some pretty cool throwbacks, which I feel like you should look into yourself. Just little nods and references. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. His dad is Lord X. I don't know if this is canon or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but that's kinda cool, actually. You don't see many EXEs be connected to each other. And when they are, it's usually like non-canon fan art stuff. So those were the facts and details I wanted to get into. So now let's finally get into his design. This is a good enough, like, simple base design. He kinda looks like movie Sonic a little bit, if you can tell from the eyes and just how his arms are blue. Probably wasn't intended to be that way, but kinda like it, to be honest. If you look at the top of his head, he has a thing on top of it. I did see some people say they didn't like it, but I do. I kinda am fine with it, to be honest. Overall, pretty good enough base design. Now here's his true form. I kinda like it, not to like an extreme level, but it's still not like bad. I like that he's a more dark blue, his like mouth expression, and like the blackness goo on him. Well, it's not goo, it's antimatter. People thought it was like a shading thing, but I like it, so yeah, not bad. So that was Faker. I don't have like a strong connection to the guy, but I'm gonna be honest, he's kinda cool, honestly. So yeah, it's kinda it. There's not much else to really say. There's some interesting aspects to him, and I'm interested to see how he gets expanded upon. So that's it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. So, YEX. This is going to be a very strange character to talk about because a lot of the info on them is like probably outdated. So, this is going to be a pretty interesting video. I literally do not have anything else to add on to this. Let's just begin. YEX really does not have a lot of info, and I'm like being serious about this. I found like 2 wikis, and I only found like a slight little bit of info. I guess I'll explain like the game they originate from like a little bit. Not really too much to it, but it is pretty well made. I think you're basically playing this really weird ROM of like a Sonic game. It seems normal in some areas, but EYX is like sneaking around killing Sonic's friends, and from what I knew, he even like killed Sonic himself. There's not really much else to it. Like, that's basically it. There are some good kills in there that I like the Eggman one, and, you know, it's well made. That's all I could say about it. Anyways, EYX is supposed to be like this weird hedgehog species, and he's apparently working with a cult, stealing people's personal information. Now you might be wondering, why does he do this? What does he get out of this? Why is he working with a cult? I don't know. All of this is probably outdated, but, like, I do find it to actually be pretty interesting. I don't know what EYX or this cult is trying to gain out of this, but it is genuinely interesting. I do have a theory on, like, why he'd be working with them, but I could tell it's, like, I could already tell you, it's outdated. It really is outdated. EYX has a fascination with humans when it comes to, like, their knowledge, but, this is, like, outdated. How did I get this information? Well, I asked the creator in a Q&A they had on Twitter, basically explaining this, saying, yeah, anything relating to, like, EYX's old stuff is outdated. I keep saying that word a lot, I know, I'm sorry. Anyways, there's not much else to get into. There's an interesting fact about his eye and, like, different emotions relating to it. He also has a brother, which is actually pretty creative, because in a way, Sonic and Tails kinda do have a brother-like relationship, so this guy being his brother is actually kinda creative. That was everything I was able to gather, so let's just finally get into his design, because there's nothing else. Yeah, this ain't a bad design. I usually never have anything negative to say about EXE designs. Like, this one has something, like, striking to them. I like that it's, like, this feral creature with, like, no gloves, one eye. Like, it looks feral. This honestly looks like something you would not want to get into an encounter with. And that's... I just don't have anything negative to say about this design. It also might have been, like, the first lanky EXE design. A lot of the ones that follow after this design aren't bad or anything, but it would be nice if they had something sorta as, like, striking as YEX over here. Not much else to say about this design. I did find these, though. I think they look cool. So that's YEX. I don't feel like they're really talked about all that often. And I could see why, because there's really not much info on them, and, like, their game is still being worked on and, like, all that other stuff, but there are some, like, cool aspects to the character. I do hope that some of this stuff does stay intact with the character, but I could be, like, completely wrong and he's, like, completely different in the future. Maybe I'll talk about him again in the future if like he does change a bit. But as for that, that's really it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. The All Father is an EXE that I'm extremely mixed on. You weren't expecting me to start off that way, but I had to be honest, like, right away. I have a lot to say about this dude, and this will probably be the most opinionated I get on an EXE, so let's just get right into it so I can explain all the stuff I have to say about this guy. So I never have an issue following the story of an EXE, but with All Father, it's a little confusing to follow. It's not like overly complicated or anything, but there are like some parts of it that are a little confusing. So to the best of my ability to try to explain this, All Father was created by men. The wording on the wiki is kind of weird, as this like golden guard thing, I think it was called. Eventually he got destroyed, and like when the Genesis came around and how popular it got, he decided to take the form of Sonic. His whole goal is to spread his name around, and as long as Sonic creepypastas exist, he will exist. Sorry if this sounds kinda confusing, but I tried to explain it as good as I can. So, if you didn't know, this guy is the reason for why every single EXE exists out there, and this is when I start to get very critical of the character. Now let me just say that I'm not actually against this idea, it's kind of a neat concept, but when you start looking into it, there are some like continuity problems with like certain EXEs a part of this like reason for why they all exist. If this guy was connected to like the first like main retakes of EXE, like Xenophanes, World.X, or like this 2011X, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but this guy is like the main reason for why every single EXE exists, and it's overall a little confusing, like why is that? Well, it's not really explained. I guess there's a slight explanation to this with the whole like multiplying aspect to his character, or like all the EXEs, but it doesn't really go too deep, to be honest. I did learn that this guy was supposed to be another retake of like EXE, and he honestly just looks that way. So, like, this guy's supposed to be the grandfather of every X, but I feel like his design just doesn't really do a good job at conveying that to you. I feel like his other forms do a better job at conveying this to you, especially his third form. It kind of looks like void matter that's mentioned in, like, the other EXE stories out there with, like, World.X. Getting back into the continuity problems, putting this guy in the back of your mind when thinking of the other EXEs and thinking he was, like, the key reason for all of it starting, there are some problems with specific characters, I feel. So you're telling me that All Father is the main reason for Fatal Error existing, even knowing that in his story it's like stated that he was created by his mom? So does that mean that All Father created the world of Fatal Error and all the different characters in it? It's just a little confusing. And I think I even heard somewhere that Fatal isn't even an EXE anymore, so like, is he even a part of this anymore? If I wanted to even go even deeper, we got the human EXEs. I know Sarah was never really an EXE, but just to consider it, so, like, you're telling me that All Father is the reason for Sarah's existence, even knowing at first she started off as a human? Like, it's a little confusing. Like, the human X's start off as, like, just humans and then eventually become spirits, so could they even be considered, like, EXEs, to be honest? Like, this is a pretty interesting concept, I couldn't lie, but, like, his design and the execution of this just opens up so many, like, plot problems for other EXEs. So, like, how do, like, specific EXEs, like, tie into this guy when some of them are either, like, humans or, like, code? I feel like it'd make more sense to have this guy be tied with the EXE retakes, then you wouldn't have, like, overcomplicatedness to the character, but he's, like, tied to every EXE, and overall it's very messy and, like, confusing. His existence around the other EXEs doesn't, like, ruin them or anything, but it only makes the stories of these EXEs far more confusing and convoluted, and yeah, I know you could basically just disregard this guy, but even then, if you were to throw him into those stories, it just makes it far more confusing. It's an interesting concept, but the design of the character and the idea of this just kind of falls on its face. I mean, by now, this stuff probably could have been changed a little bit, but I don't really feel like going out of my way to look for it. But overall, the execution's just kind of flat, and the design for, like, the EXE could have been far better. I did find out about this guy. I think his name is Goosebundo, and he's, like, a separate character to, like, All Father. I honestly think his design is far better than, like, his a little bit, and does a better job at being, well, maybe a part of every EXE. I forgot to bring these guys up, and this is when we start getting into, like, the facts territory. These guys are supposed to be, like, the victims. I love how this Knuckles guy still retains the stuff from his human form. Like, he just has sunglasses on. It's kinda cool. This is kind of an interesting little fact, but, he has a sister named Mario 2015. I'm already just gonna say it now, I think his design's a little better than All Father, but this also would open up continuity problems with, like, Mario, like, EXEs, because, like, Mario 2015 is basically the reason for like every Mario EXE existing, but I'm not going to get into that. So now I think it is finally time to get into Allfather's design. I am pretty mixed on this design. I can't say it's like good, but I also can't say it's bad. It's just pretty basic and doesn't really do the best job at conveying to you that this is the grandfather of every X. It's too basic, but I did find these, and I arguably think he looks better when he just looks like classic Sonic, or has this going on with him. I feel like a form like this he has does a better job at conveying to you that he's the father of every X. Like, I don't know, he just gives off this vibe of like Supreme Ruler, and like, this actually doesn't look all that bad. I like it. I like the whole aesthetic of this thing going on. Like I mentioned, it looked like void matter. In fact, it almost looks like every EXE is like stuck inside of this thing. I don't know, it just works better. So overall, Allfather has a pretty interesting concept for like an EXE, but he has a pretty like messy design, and I feel like the execution of his whole like idea is just not the best. Who knows by now, maybe the character has changed a bit, but overall I'm very conflicted on Allfather. Interesting concept, but messy execution and not the best design in my opinion. But I do like the second and third form, so that's basically it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. 2017X, or just Sonic. Yeah, this guy. So people have been wanting me to get around to talking about this guy, and I'm here to deliver with that. I've known about him for a while, I'd say, and he's gotten himself pretty popular, so let's just get right into it. So our story begins with this fella starting off as a pretty basic god, or dude, and he starts to believe full-heartedly that he is Sonic the Hedgehog. I think the funny thing about 2017X's story is that it's not too far off of that like SpongeBob creepypasta where this random dude starts to believe that he is SpongeBob. Same for his friends, and he basically just gaslights himself into that. But yeah, he full-heartedly believes that he is Sonic the Hedgehog. He is the real Sonic, he believes this. But he decides to make his world based around the dark ages of Sonic, which I can't lie, I find that kinda cool, but 2017X decides to play his little games with his victims and rip their souls out of their bodies to get their eternal prisons out of there, or something. I find that kinda funny, not gonna lie. And have them play their respective role as Sonic characters and be like, yeah, this guy is definitely Sonic. It's definitely not somebody else or some guy trying to pose as him. Yeah, definitely Sonic the Hedgehog, most definitely. And I think that's basically it for right now until it eventually changes, but I just can't get over this guy gaslighting himself into Sonic and also ripping people's souls out to get them out of their prison or something. It's pretty funny to me, I don't know what he's trying to gain out of it. It's pretty interesting that he has such a hyper-fixation with the dark ages of Sonic. I know a lot of people associate this guy with Sonic.EXE, but he doesn't originate from that game. You just see him a lot in that kind of media. I don't really have much else to say about it. He just gaslighted himself into believing he was Sonic, decided to turn his world into the Dark Ages, and then he decided to rip people's souls open to get them from their eternal suffering or something. Yeah, it's pretty insane if you do ask myself. But yeah, let's move on now. So this is the part of the video where I get into the juicy little details, but first, I've been playing Subterfuge through each segment of this video, and that song does have some little meanings to it, but I'm not going to analyze it. I just can't. I'm not an expert of Subterfuge. I think I've listened to the song around like 5 or 10 times in a row. There's like a few things I could pick up on, but again, I'm not going to analyze it. I'll leave that to somebody more professional to do. But I do think there is like a callback to the original 2017 like creepypasta in one of the lyrics. I'm not really sure. Don't go look for that, it's pretty horrendous. But now I can get into the real juicy details now. So I never really go into an EXE's appearance unless I'm just covering their design, but we have his base form, which is this weird black leathery thing, and he also has another form called the face. Yeah, this thing. I also just want to bring up, I found this of like him devolving into his true self. But you already know that this guy is pretty insane. More insane than like the actual EXE himself. Like, or 2011. Like, he's more insane than that guy. But if you dare oppose this guy, and if you say he's not Sonic as your like Tails or something, you're screwed. He'll get mad at you, dude. Hey, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog and all that garbage. Like, that's Sonic, guys. Look at him, that's the real Sonic. Oh wait, I shouldn't say that because he might come to my house later, but it's not much else to really get into. I should really start linking the wikis for these characters I talk about if you just want to go read them or not. I read the Legacy version, there's like tons of other 2017X wikis, but that one seems the most reliable to me. There's some stuff on there about like peppers on pizza, and like if 2017X met like Sonic himself, he'd have a mental breakdown, but he's kind of a child, so what would you expect? Also stuff about the original Bad Pasta, so now let's get into his design. This design, I have many feelings about it. It's not bad, I just have like no words to explain it. It's kinda goofy. I like the coloring of it, I guess. It's pretty recognizable, but I think his face form is far better. It just provokes something different in me. It's just off. It doesn't look quite right. I think it depends on how he's drawn. I like that he looks partially dirty when he's trying to transform into his true self. That would have been kind of a nice detail to throw in there, but I do like the somewhat low poly appearance he has. You could see this in some of the renders of his. It's not like terrible or anything.
You're not very good at this.
So that is 2017X. Gotta say, I kinda like him, I guess. I think that mostly just comes up to how insane he is and just him ripping people open and trying to, like, have their souls be free or something. And also the, like, Dark Age Sonic stuff. But, yeah. So, I talked about him finally, and that's basically it from me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. So this character's been lurking in my mind for a little bit, and they're called Sonic OMT, but I'm just gonna call them One Last Round EXE. Oh boy, don't I have a lot to say about this guy. Like, a lot of stuff. I mean that. So this guy originates from Sonic.EXE One Last Round, which, not gonna lie, is kinda peak. Gonna be honest. The whole gist of this guy is that he wants to have one little last round with you, and that is it. So, you know, like normal, I guess EXE fashion, you just go through the game and you die a bunch. With Last Round, there's something I really appreciate about it. EXE feels like an actual threat, and I'm not joking when I say that. Now this isn't like a review of the game, it's just me like analyzing certain things from the game and pointing things out. A problem I sorta have with the original Sonic.EXE is that EXE does not feel like a threat. The threat only comes from you moving forward, and well, that's your only option. Like, what else are you gonna do, stand in place? One Last Round actually tries to deviate from the original game by having different paths you can go down. Now, I do want to say that you still get screwed over, you still die at the end of the day, but it almost feels like you actually have some sort of survival attempt to get away from this monstrosity. There's like two versions of One Last Round, the updated version and the old one. And from watching all the gameplay, yeah, he really does feel like an actual threat. This is a guy you do not want to mess with or even be around. Everywhere you go, you're screwed. You get screwed over by this sadistic guy. I honestly just like how you could just see this guy lurking around sometimes in like the backgrounds, and he's just watching you. Going into this guy's design, it doesn't really scare me, but it does make me feel a little uneasy when looking at it. I think that honestly has to do with the kills in One Last Round. Some of them, gonna be honest, are a little gross. There's a part in the game, the original one, where he like turns into this spider, and he just drinks Tails' blood, and it's kinda gross and a little unsettling. That's honestly something I kinda like about him, his whole ability to morph into horrific stuff. Like, please tell me what this thing is supposed to be with like these tentacles and 3 heads on it, with like a dinosaur tail. And then you have this thing that just looks very unnatural and uncanny. Definitely wouldn't want to be around this thing. You know, honestly, I could just go on and on about this guy, but I think I've said enough. This guy, I like him. He's kinda creepy and a genuine threat. So that's basically it. Sleep with one eye open because this thing will be in your bedroom at night. Bye. So, Grimeware. So I've been meaning to make a video on this guy for a while now, which I honestly probably should have made a long time ago, but I'm doing it now. So, I've known about Grimeware for a decent amount of time, so here's a video on him, so let's just get right into this. So Grimeware is basically this like sadistic program that decided to take over Sonic's body. Now you might be wondering, how did this even happen? Well, Sonic was on Angel Island by himself fighting Eggman, but Eggman got a real good hit on Sonic. So basically Sonic fell into this dark abyss where Grimeware was able to take over his body and just, like make it like a soulless husk. Sonic was missing for a while, so eventually his friends got worried for him and decided to go look for him. But oh no, Grimeware had some tricks up his sleeve to screw his friends over, so he is able to grow his disgusting, grotesque body. And that is basically it. There really isn't much else to his story. That's kinda it. I really wish there was more for me to say about it, but really, like, there's not a lot to him, especially when you read his wiki. You'll be done with that, like, extremely quickly. If there is something I could give to Grimeware, is that I do like his body horror, especially with his base form right here with, like, the ripped up arm and, like, some blood going on there, especially on the chest, the sort of boils he has, and, like, the eyes. Take a look at whatever this thing is supposed to be. Like, what's going on here? It looks insane. He doesn't really have a lot of facts to go off of. Like, apparently he's purple, but I don't really see it. And he's able to possess somebody who comes in contact with him. I did kinda forget about the other ones, which are actually kinda interesting, but really that's basically it for, like, the facts. So really all we have left to go into is just his design. I really wish there was more for me to say, but there just isn't a lot to talk about with him. I've already gotten into this a bit. I've already said what I had to say about this design, but for being like a body horror EXE, we can get some pretty cool designs like this. Gotta say, I actually like this with the tentacles and fleshiness, and like the messed up arms and face. I actually like this. I've already gotten into this thing already, but man, I like it. Just the crazy eyes and mouth going on here. I do like this design right here. I just want to bring something up, but slowly this render right here could fall apart into something horrific. And I do like that. The whole detail of like his eyes apparently could like fall out. So that's cool. His true form is this like brain thingy with like tentacles and stuff. I actually really like this. It looks like really like creepy. It just looks very horrific. There's also Eggman, Tails, and Knuckles. I forgot to bring up that Eggman was like his first victim. And I do like the mouth aesthetic and his stomach going on. Also, these look pretty cool. So that's Grimeware. I think he's a pretty decent EXE. Not one of my favorites, but something I'll give him is that he does have some pretty cool body horror. And yeah, that's kind of it. I honestly wish I had far more to say about him, but I just don't. So that's really it. So I'll see you guys next time, and bye. DX, that's actually really all I can say. This is probably going to be a pretty short video because DX isn't really a super complex character. He's just another version of Sonic.EXE, I guess. DX has a pretty simple backstory. He just originates from the Sonic Classic Collection on the DS, which is how I got into playing Sonic 3, but back to DX, there's really not much to him, backstory-wise. He basically is just on the hunt for, like, Tails and Knuckles. And that's actually it for his character. Like, that's all he does. He just is on the hunt for Tails and Knuckles, and he tries to kill them. And that's it. There's not much to it at all. From my memory, the wiki states that his motives are unknown, and they're right about that because I have no idea why he's even doing any of this. He's just like some weird, like, entity creature thing that's just killing Tails and Knuckles for whatever reason, and I don't know why. So now I would give my thoughts on his design, but his design is pretty interesting because it's like a slow extent into his like final one. I'll give this to his design. I like the sort of glitchy aesthetic in the color schemes they go for with his like transformation. It's like this red bluish they go for, and I actually kind of like it. His final form is full on red, and I'm not like the hugest fan of it, but the color scheme on it isn't that bad, so yeah, that's it. I really didn't have all that much to say, so yeah, that's it. That's it for DX, and that's just, yeah, so thanks for watching, and bye. Curse, you either love him or hate him. You guys probably mostly hate him. So today we're going to be going over, well, the problems with this guy, Curse. And this video will have 3 different segments to it, so let's begin. Number 1, Curse's story. Now, like any modern day EXE, Curse has a story. And well, to put it lightly, it has interesting ideas in it, but there's certain things I can question about it. So there's this plot point in Curse's story where basically, like, Knuckles and, like, Curse get in a rock slide, and, like, Knuckles dies, and, like, Tails is mad at Sonic and starts stalking him for whatever reason. Now, am I the only one that gets a slight bit of secondhand embarrassment after hearing the Tails stuff? Why is an 8-year-old kid stalking Sonic? I understand being mad at him, but like, why? Why is he doing that? In itself, you do kind of have an interesting concept right there. You can have, like, Tails slowly drift away from Sonic after that event, basically being mad at him for the whole, like, incident at hand. Have him be like, hey, aren't you, like, the fastest thing alive, Sonic? How are you, like, not able to save Knuckles? But oh well, I guess. At least you have the Eggman part, which I find slightly interesting. Him basically just giving up being evil and just helping out Sonic. Kind of an interesting idea there. As a whole, the story is just kinda basic for Curse. There's a few interesting ideas here and there, but also a few questionable decisions too. I don't even think the story explains, like, really how Sonic gets, like, this EXE virus. He just gets it for whatever reason. Well, let's get into the next segment of the video. Number 2, the design. Now, when it comes to Curse's design, I feel like it's really kinda questionable. Like, take a look at this. This is supposed to be Sonic the Hedgehog, but it really just doesn't look like Sonic. He has these, like, teared gloves, this massive tail, and he's just constantly happy. I'm sorry, but this design is just too cute, and it feels like it's trying way too hard to look like Spinel. Speaking of Spinel, this guy literally has the same exact weapon like her. Like, he just has this giant, like, scythe, and, like, it's just constantly happy like Spinel. Like, when I look at a certain EXE, I either get some, like, sorta interesting vibe from them, but from Curse, I do get one, but, like, it's just, he's just cute. That's the design. He's just this wholesome thing for whatever reason. And it just doesn't look like Sonic the Hedgehog. I think I've done enough ranting on this guy's design, so let's just get into the final segment of the video. Number 3, deviation and uniqueness. Now, I guess as an EXE, Curse kinda deviates away from other EXEs. Instead of just being a ruthless killer, he's just Sonic with a virus, and he's just happy with that and just tries to not let him bother him, which, that's an interesting idea, but that's it. It's not really the most interesting thing in the world. Now, is Curse a unique EXE? No, not really. The guy honestly just can't compare to any of the other EXEs out there. So in conclusion, is Curse a bad EXE? I guess. Is he the worst EXE out there? No, but he's not unique. Should he burn in the Shadow Realm? Probably. So, as a whole, that is basically it. I hope you enjoyed my, my problems with Curse. Thanks for watching, and bye. So, it's been a while since I've done a video like this, so today we're going over an EXE called Hasty. Like with the last EXE we went over, Hasty is a bootleg Sonic. I guess you can consider this sort of their backstory. So Hasty originates from, well, a bootleg Sonic game, but this bootleg Sonic game is kinda weird. The software where this character originates from really likes to close itself a lot, and basically it's just like, hey, don't open me. Please do not open me at all. But if you do open the software, welcome to some weird bootlegginess with, like, bad music and weird controls. If I was to sum up Hasty for you, it's basically if, like, Mighty the Armadillo was more of a pacifist than he already is. Hasty is a guy that just doesn't want to deal with you. He's just like, he'll hide, he'll try to just end the game as quickly as possible, but, you know, if you're just being stubborn, you'll probably just not listen to him. You will just continue to play a weird bootleg game as Hasty is probably hiding behind a rock, crying to himself. But that's it for his origins. I should bring up that this guy has his own bootleg friends, because why wouldn't he? This guy has his own version of Tails, which looks like a cat for whatever reason. And that's all I have to say about it. This guy also has his own Amy. This man honestly just can't catch a break, can he? Now let's get into this man's design, which I really don't have all that much to say about it. It is just a recolored Sonic, which makes sense because he's a bootleg Sonic, of course. He's all, like, purpley, with, like, slightly changed colors. I like the white and dark aesthetic to him with his gloves and fur. I really don't have anything else to say about him. He has a fine enough design. Well, this video was kinda on the shorter side in this series, because I just don't have much to say else about this character. Not my favorite EXE, but the concept behind a Sonic that's just nervous, scared, and doesn't want to get into fights is kinda interesting. If you ever open up a bootleg software, leave this man alone. He's already suffering enough. And with that, that's basically it for this video. Bye. Your innocence is now gone. No More Innocence is a very unique and different type of EXE that I've not seen before. This character takes a risk, and you might respect it, or you might think that it's taking it too far. I mainly want to analyze the character of No More Innocence. He has something to him that just other EXEs just don't have. He is downright disgusting, more disgusting than most EXEs, but it's the good type of disgusting, a disgusting that works way too well. No More Innocence is a cocky Japanese spirit that keeps to himself, and he feeds off of the innocence of children, kids. That's right. I am aware that in various other EXE stories, kids do get involved to some extent, but this is the main focal point of No More Innocence's character. And you, fellow viewer, might ask, why does he go after children? What's stopping him from going after anybody else? And to answer that, No More Innocence wants power. He wants to find a way into the real world. And when you think about it, the idea is not bad. It's very gross, it's disgusting, but it makes a lot of sense. Kids are, not the smartest, and they don't know a lot, so when something like this comes around, they're going to believe that it could be trusted, that this thing is there to protect them. Unfortunately, though, that is far from the truth. No More Innocence does not care about these kids. He wants to take their innocence away. It's disturbing, and it's also sad too, but not for the reason you would think. The reason being is that things like this in real life do exist. There are people out there that think they have power over others, and they can do whatever they want with no consequences, and No More Innocence is no different. I think it's about time that we go deeper into his story, which doesn't really feel like a story. More of a tale, if you would say. One of despair in trying to find the truth, evolved around a copy of Sonic 2 that is not your usual copy of the game. There were various things that it would do to the player, and so the police were informed about this. Unfortunately, though, the cases never got solved, and they left to rot. But this thing was able to find a way into the real world, and make those around them think that it was something that always existed, but it never did. If you ask me, this story or tale doesn't need much expansion. Don't get me wrong, would I like to know more about No More Innocence? Yes, but do I need to? No, I don't need 7 to 10 mangas or an animated series with multiple different seasons to give me what I already have. Not only does this thing feed off of the innocence of its victims, the way it does it is by using a copy of Sonic 2 and making them slowly reach a point of illness. No, not just illness, but various other side effects too. Killing the bastards would just be better, if you ask me. It's sick, it's deplorable, it's disgusting, and gross. This thing will pretend that it understands what you're going through and will be there to comfort you when it's using your pain as its power. Once you make it to the end of your journey, there's no going back. This thing has won. You can't stop it. It will keep going and going. It will keep finding new victims. It will keep doing the same song and dance, pretending to be a Sega employee, LARPing as Sonic himself, just so it can get what it wants. And even if its victim did gain some self-awareness, it wouldn't matter. It's off to the next victim, and another, and another. And once it completes its goal, there's no stopping it. It won. Now I think you understand No More Innocence, and what makes him stand out unlike other EXEs. The more I talk about No More Innocence, the more I start to like this character. This is becoming one of my favorite EXEs. He's not a hard character to understand, yet though, he's still a deeply layered character. If this thing wasn't an EXE, I'd probably still like it. It already has a solid enough concept that would work outside of being an EXE character. All I'm going to say left is, I love No More Innocence. He's truly one of the best EXEs to ever be made, and I hope you can understand that, fellow viewer, and get behind why this character is just so special. Sayonara, everyone. It's time for me to go back into the shadows.
I must say, I love goth bitches. Ooh.
500 of the Y. You may be asking yourself, what the hell does that even mean? At first, I had no idea what 500Y even meant, but then I learned what it actually meant. 500Y or X falls into that category of being another one of those Sonic.EXE retakes, and he has something interesting to make him stand out from the other retakes out there, and I will definitely get into what that is. At his core, his concept is very simple to follow, but that's not a bad thing, I will say. I don't really have anything else to add on to, so let's get into the 500 of the Y. 500Y's origin starts off pretty simply. 500Y is void matter, but the thing about this is that he's not really meant to exist. He is an error, but something out in the void screams out, being the Cult of X, a cult that only worships the evilest of shit. Around this time, 500Y didn't really have anything to him, but this cult did expect something to come out of him. You know, maybe this guy could have some sort of evil to him, and so they eventually turn on him, and he gets sealed away for 500 years. And now you know what his name actually means. He was sealed away for 500 years, so that means 500Y. I thought it meant he was the 500EXE to be made, but I'm dumb as fuck. 500 years later, Eggman robots find him, and when he gets unsealed, he wants to take over the world and destroy it. And he takes over Sonic's body to do such a thing. And that is the story at its core. Very easy and simple to follow. I guess there is something there that could build into a bigger narrative, which, hey, I'm gonna get into that right now actually, cause I don't have anything else to say about the story. It does have a decent enough setup going for it, so let's get into that stuff now that's a bit more interesting. 500Y doesn't have the most super groundbreaking info out there, but there's a few things I could tell ya. If 500Y never met the Cult of X, he would have been put down a path of good if he was shown that path. I think this is a pretty neat concept for an EXE. It's something I haven't really seen be done before. There was a chance that the guy could have been a beacon of hope, being a savior, but that just didn't happen. I guess the sad thing about it is that when you listen to his voice lines, he's aware of this. It kinda reminds me of Spinel from Steven Universe, though both characters are executed a lot differently. I guess I wouldn't be too surprised if 500Y did take a bit of inspiration from the character. Anyways, here's those voice lines.
I am a manifestation of the void. I am an error and was never meant to exist. But here I am, a monster with a mission. I can taste the fear in your breath. Get up. Keep this interesting for me. I thought I got rid of them all. Let me put this in a way you can understand. I was sealed in that tomb 500 years ago. I escaped. I took over your little blue friend's body. I will destroy your world and roll over it!
So that's kinda it. I'd be intrigued if this did continue a little bit. So let's get into his design finally. So, the design of 500Y, I kinda like it. It's like if Xylan and Diablo did a fusion dance, and I don't mean that as something bad. My favorite details that come out of this design would have to be the brimstone armor and the X that goes down to his leg. That might get changed, but personally I'd keep it around. I do want to mention these that I found through the comment section of the 500Y wiki. I kinda like these new renders of him. He has a somewhat bigger build, or that's just something that I'm hallucinating. If his design went down a route of having a more bigger build, I actually wouldn't mind it. I think it looks cool. Nonetheless, I don't dislike what we have with him. It's a solid design. So that is 500Y. He is a neat EXE, and I'd say he has a good foundation going for him. So that's all I'm gonna say. I didn't really have a lot to say about him, but he's neat, and that's basically it, and I'll see you guys next time, and bye. Alright, we're finally doing it. We're talking about Fatal Error, once and for all. Probably should have talked about him a long time ago, but now we're finally here. Oh boy, this character has like a lot of stuff to them. They have like their own like established like little universe. Like look at this. Look at this right here. I won't be going into all the nitty-gritty details about his character, which I usually don't think I do when it comes to covering EXEs, but maybe I'll mention some of like the other characters. So let's just get right into this. So, Fatal's story actually doesn't start off about him. It starts off about this guy that made this like really intelligent program that they spend 100 hours working on. Actually, hundreds of hours into. Anyways, I think this AI is supposed to be pretty intelligent and is sort of human-like. Anyways, eventually this AI gets corrupted and turns into Fatal Prime. If you don't know who Fatal Prime is supposed to be, they're basically Fatal Error's mom, and you'll see that later on. Anyways, this AI torments its creator for a year, and eventually the creator just game ends themselves. That's a good way of saying it, I guess. I should mention that like the creator got locked out of their computer. I would ask like why they wouldn't destroy it, but it probably is like this really expensive computer and they probably were unable to do that, so I don't really know. After the creator died, Fatal Prime wanted power and decided to make a bunch of different copies to go out and get code. But out of all of them, there was this like different one that Fatal Prime just didn't like. And this is how Fatal Error came to be. Now, giving a quick little, like, summary of who Fatal Error is, basically, they're, like, this malicious code entity that, like, wants power, and basically only cares about themselves. There's a little more to it, but that's the best description I could give. Anyways, Fatal Prime doesn't want to have anything to do with Fatal, so they get sent off to go get some code. And Fatal honestly just doesn't even really care. Should mention, like, Fatal not really knowing what their purpose is and, like, why they exist. Fatal stumbles upon a Sonic.EXE ROM, and instead of consuming it, they decide they want to have some fun with it. So they basically just go into the game, basically turn all of Sonic's friends into code puppets, except for Sonic. Basically, Fatal just, like, rips his body apart and uses it as, like, a vessel for himself. Now the only thing his puppets can do are just silently ask for help. At one point, Sonic does come face to face with Fatal and is able to fight him, but he loses and gets sent to like the lowest part of his body. Basically, Sonic is just trapped in Fatal's body. In the end, Fatal was able to take over an entire world and comes to a realization of something. He wants power, and so decides to like, you know, ditch Fatal Prime and just go on his own little adventure to accomplish his goal. And then that's basically it. I probably missed a lot of details in there, but it's overall kind of a pretty interesting story, honestly. Random coding comes to a realization of their full power and ditches their mom. Like, that's actually kind of interesting. There aren't many facts about Fatal. Most of the wiki just consists of his abilities, which are pretty interesting. I did find out that he's British, which I've known for a while. And he does have his own little multiverse of friends. This guy right here is supposed to be like his rival. I don't know much about him, but I like to imagine they have a Russian accent. I do know about his mom, but as for everybody else, I kinda know about, like, what they are, but not too much. So, that's it. I never go too deeply into EXE's powers or abilities, and I'm gonna be honest, I think I forgot about some of Fatal's abilities, but there are some interesting ones he has. He's able to replace blood. He could, like, do whatever he wants to a world and just destroy it and do, like, basically anything. He's able to screw over worlds, basically forcing anybody there to obey him. He can, like, travel into any games he wants. He's able to absorb knowledge, even from non-living things. He's able to, like, possess people, mess around with, like, his limbs. And there's probably a lot more I'm missing, but he has a lot of interesting abilities that I actually kind of like. So let's finally just get into his design and all the other designs he has. Starting off with an absolute classic and a banger design, this design. What can I say? It's not a bad design. I like the color scheming, like with the whole blacks and reds and like the arms. He also just looks kind of goofy with like the mouth and the stomach area where he has an eye. What else can I say? This isn't a bad design, and it's pretty iconic. Also, this is pretty iconic, too. Just, like, it's an insane design right here with, like, the whole, like, red splotchy thing. I don't know what to call it, but, like, he has, like, all the different mouths and on him, and, like, yeah, this also isn't bad. There's also this thing, which is actually a little bit creepy, but a decent, like, whole, like, disguised vessel form. I found these, which I do kind of dig a little bit, with like the more black color scheme they go for. Like it looks like feral. That's what I can sum up these designs as. I did find this cool Godzilla like Fatal design. Well, not Godzilla, but like this cool giant Fatal thing. Like on all fours. It actually looks kind of cool. And finally, you have his more current design, which I'm actually kind of mixed on. Like, I know this is sort of supposed to maybe look like his mom, but I'm very mixed on this. It just, I don't know, looks a little weird. Seeing this man rocking an entire suit just feels odd to me. And I just don't know what it is. This looks kind of weird, but it's passable, I guess. So that is Fatal Error. Overall, I think he's actually one of my favorite EXEs. He probably would go on like my top 10 list. I think it's nice that he's the most established EXE, having his own world and characters, and he does definitely have some pretty interesting stuff to him when it comes to abilities and like backstory, which I do kind of dig the whole premise of him just like ditching his creator and just going out to do his own thing. So, that's basically it. I don't have anything else to add on to this, so that's basically it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. MP4/SS4/, I'm just gonna call him Slash for the rest of the video. So Slash is an EXE with barely any information on him, but I'm gonna try to make something out of this video and try to talk about him, so let's try it. Now, there's only two things I know about this character, and I think they come from like two separate wikis or something. The first thing I know about this character is that, well, they hate all EXEs. Don't know why they do, they just do for whatever reason. I should have brought this up, but the character doesn't really have a backstory, they just hate all EXEs, I guess. Now, let me tell you about the second thing I know about this character. I don't know if this is from like a separate wiki or the same one, it got updated or something, I don't know to be honest. So this second wiki or the same one brings up that like this kid was trying to like reincarnate his brother with a gaming console, and that's what made MP4/ or just Slash. I think it's kinda interesting, and that's all I can say about it. Now this is the part of the video where we get into talking about his design and I give my whole thoughts on it. I actually like Slash's design. He goes for this gray fur color, and I like how his head just floats and he has arms coming out. But as a design, I like it. The whole aesthetic they go for here isn't bad. Now this is when I would just usually end the video and just be like, yeah, that's it, but I do want to bring up these videos. So there's these series of songs out there of MP4/ meeting different EXEs kinda, and he's trying to make some sort of alliance to take on, you know, the normal Sonic.EXE. I guess it is somewhat accurate to his original concept as a character, but now he's just working with other EXEs that are not godlike to take on an actual god. So that's basically it for MP4/. You know, tomorrow they could update the wiki and basically say he likes cheese randomly. But yeah, that's it, and bye. Requados, Ricados, I don't know how to say his name. I'm just gonna say Requados or something. I can't say his name. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna mess up his name a lot in this video. So Requados is a character I've been meaning to talk about for a while now. I've been really holding it off for a while, but now I'm talking about him, so there's not much else I have to say, so let's just get into talking about Ricados. I can't say his name, I don't know why. Just to make it easier on myself, I'm just gonna call him Glitch Tails. That works. So Glitch Tails' origins start off pretty basically. He's just chilling around until Sonic shows up and decides, hey, I'm gonna follow this guy. So the both of them go on an adventure of a lifetime. They both become buddies, and that's that. Oh, actually, no, it's not. So Tails gets killed multiple times to a point that he's like, I'm done, I'm gonna kill Sonic. What's very interesting about this is that his sprite keeps constantly glitching out and becoming just worse and worse for him. He just starts to become deformed. So eventually the both of them make it to Carnival Night Zone, and Tails just kills Sonic. That's it, Sonic becomes dead and Tails just completely loses all of his sanity. Well, not entirely. I definitely will be getting into the little facts about him, but that's kinda it for him. So anybody that looks like Sonic or likes the dude, well, you're gonna get killed by Requados. I think I finally got it right. So finally, now I can get into some interesting facts about Glitch Tails. So he has like 2 scythes that he uses for hunting. Speaking of hunting, he only specifically hunts in Marvel Zone, so not Carnival Zone. Like, yeah, he killed Sonic there, but he doesn't hunt there for some reason. Which I guess would make sense. I mean, who's gonna be there? I guess Marvel Zone makes more sense, so other facts, he likes mints and cherries for some reason. He drowns himself in the blood of Sonic, I think, on every Tuesday, which is some sort of, like, reference to, like, the Sonic 2 marketing campaign, I think. Neat. Well, actually, I think it's on every Tuesday or Thursday night. I kinda got my days mixed up. He's voiced by Shut Up JoJo. Yeah, that's right. Apparently, he is voiced by Shut Up JoJo. I genuinely would love to know how JoJo got the voice role for Glitch Tails or Requados. I still struggle with saying his name. Speaking of his name, apparently it has a specific meaning to it. I think it's like to give. I don't really remember, to be honest. Requados is actually not 8 years old. He's like 24. He straight up hates the name Tails because of his bullies. So, yeah. One more little fact is that he apparently has a Ravager form, which he talks to because he considers it his only friend, which is kinda sad, and he knows that he's talking to himself. So that's like every little fact about him. I overall found this stuff to be kinda interesting, which I'll go into like my full thoughts on him at the end. So let's get into his design. So Requitos has multiple different forms and designs. Starting off with this one, I actually kind of like it, with like the blackish arm aesthetic he has, like the messed up fur, like he lost his like white chest fur, the scarf, the scythes on the back, it looks nice. He has like a slightly messed up shoe and his tails are like a little messy. Here's what this design looks like without any of the detail. It looks kind of weird to me, to be honest. I don't know if this is his Ravager form, but I actually don't think this looks too bad. Kind of looks like a dinosaur, but I actually like this sort of bulkiest design for his Ravager form. If it is, I don't really know. It's probably an earlier design, but it doesn't look bad. You have this thing, which, gonna be honest, I don't think I like it. I like this design a little bit more. If it's his Ravager form, I don't know what these both are, but I don't know, man. So that was Requitos Glitch Tails. I actually find him to be a pretty interesting EXE, but the sad thing about him is that you know he's not going to get expanded upon. I find certain aspects to his, like, backstory to be pretty interesting. Like, he hunts, he hates all Sonics, or something that resembles Sonic. Like, I find that stuff to be interesting, and I wouldn't mind seeing it get expanded upon, but you know that's not going to happen. He's one of those FNF EXE characters. He's just never going to get expanded upon, and I just know it. It sucks. There's a lot of potential here, but oh well. So, yeah, that's basically it, so, bye. What are you?
Sega! I am Sega!
Shut the fuck up, Sonic. That's it, Sonic. You're going straight to hell. I'm putting a Titanic ritual on your ass. You're going to hell now, Sonic. You're going straight to hell. You'll never hurt another person ever again, you son of a bitch.
I hope you rot!
Oh my god, thank you, Tails. We killed Sonic. What can I do to ever repay you, man?
My therapist told me to start killing people!
Have you ever had a complex, or a God complex? If you haven't, I want to introduce you to somebody with one. Meet God Complex. God Complex is, I actually don't really know, to be honest. It's really not gonna take too long to get the gist of this character, and honestly, this video is probably gonna be pretty short. So let's look into God Complex and his godly conquest, or God Complex.
There is no God! Only me!
So, our story begins with Sonic stumbling upon a corrupted Chaos Emerald. Eggman was messing around with it, and this made Sonic very murderous and evil. Sonic had this urge to start killing anything he sees. And that is basically it. There's really not much more to go off of. Sonic found an emerald, and it was bad. And Sonic is now evil and murderous. Now, I would save a lot of this stuff for later, but you know what? I'm just gonna bring it up now. The character does have a sprite animation, and I guess it does a decent enough job at presenting, like, how Sonic has become. I think it's a pretty neat animation, so I'm just gonna show it to you. So I guess Tails got his fucking head smashed in. I do like how this kill is presented where Sonic jumps off the screen and then make a sneak attack on the guy. And the music right aside it is nice. We do have some voice lines. After I play a few of them, we'll break everything down.
Sega! Sega! I am Sega! Sidekick? You really think you are my sidekick? I don't need a sidekick, Miles. I don't need anyone. I do whatever I like. I do what I please. You're only holding me back. and I don't need you in the way.
So, I think God Complex has interesting elements there to build into an actual character, but the issue kinda arises with the fact that the original creator abandoned him. So now he's owned by somebody else, and I'm gonna have to guess that the original creator ran off to an island somewhere and smashed his computer in. Should be noted that this same creator also owns Sonic.EXE, and then just gave him away to this fucking guy. I hope one day somebody gives me their Sonic recolor for free. I've seen people throw around that God Complex is basically just Fleetway Sonic but without the Chaos Emerald. Yeah, the idea is a little bit the same but executed differently, but even with that I think you could do something with that. A God Complex game could actually work. It's been shown to us that it could maybe work. So you know what? Here's my God Complex fanfiction. Here's what I would do for his character.
There is no God! Only me!
So, when it comes to the story and gameplay, here's how it would go. This story takes place as Sonic 3 is going on. Sonic has all the Chaos Emeralds on him, but he stumbles upon another one, thinking, is there 8 Chaos Emeralds now? Eggman was trying to make his own Chaos Emerald so he didn't have to collect all of them, so he could use it for his evil plan, but he just kinda dropped it somewhere, and Sonic stumbles upon it. But Sonic starts to get negative energy from the Emerald and becomes murderous. He wants to kill anything he sees. Tails is following right aside Sonic and is confused why he ran away, so decides he's gonna follow him. So Tails goes to Green Hill Zone to find him, and he does, but there's something wrong with Sonic. Now there'd be a chance for you to save Tails' life, but if he dies, I guess you just move on to the next character. But if you do save Tails' life, you're gonna want to find out what's going on, so eventually Knuckles and Eggman become aware of this, and you all team up together. Your goal is to find this emerald and destroy it, but you also might have to destroy the other emeralds too. So Sonic doesn't become more powerful. The gameplay would focus on platforming and exploration, kinda like Spirits of Hell, but I'd want it to be something a little bit different. There'd be a survival element in the game where each area, Sonic would have some sort of death trap set up. But as all of this is going on, Sonic becomes aware that he's a game character, so he decides he's gonna take over Sega. He becomes aware of Sega's existence, and Sonic is able to take over Sega and tells them to ditch whatever they have to only focus on him, because he loves the attention. People love Sonic and he wants more of that, and he forces them to build him a kingdom that he can rule over. So if he did actually have a game, there would be 2 endings, but I'd like to add a few more endings. You can have one where you have to kill Sonic, you can have one where you save his life, you could have one where Sega is tired of all of this and just kills everyone in the game. That's actually all I can come up with. There is one that mentions Sonic killing everyone and realizing that. So that's what I would do for God Complex's character. I know this is a bit different from what I usually do, but let me know what you think of this. I just wanted to throw this in due to the character not having much, so I just wanted to come up with my own concept of the character and its story. So really the only thing left is the design of the character.
There is no God! Only me!
I kinda like the design of God Complex. Not a lot, but there's something I sorta like about it. I think the design works at its best when it's only in sprite form. It's more striking that way. And that's all I could say about the design. That's it.
There is no God! Only me!
God Complex has, not much to him, to be completely honest. Do I think he could work? Probably. That really depends on whatever the new creator is doing with him. But at least you learned Chaos Emerald bad. That was because of Eggman. I don't dislike God Complex. I don't hate him. I have nothing I could really say about him though. So I'm out. No. Xenophanes and canon Xenophanes don't really have a lot to them. That's not to say I dislike them or anything, but they don't really have a lot of content to them and there's not much to say about them. I'll try my hardest to say something about both of the characters, but it might not even relate to the character themselves. Xenophanes is a character that has been mostly carried by the internet in itself, not the canon version. I don't really see people talk about the canon version that much, or have even used them in anything. Sometimes I see fan art of the canon version and even see them get brought up briefly. Not in the best way possible, but yeah, that's it. The only thing the normal Xenophanes has is FNF and these videos, if I didn't make it obvious already. Sometimes maybe there's a normal skit video out there that isn't roasting him, which I'm gonna dive into. This video was the turning point of Xenophanes' roasting career on the internet. He sorta started to become the internet's punching bag a bit, and so these videos exist where he just gets roasted. And it's kinda sad, but also It was like 2 years ago and we kind of got to let it go, guys. It is kind of an unfortunate thing to happen to him, and it's sort of like a fate worse than death, but it was 2 years ago. I don't know, some people just don't let it go. I do find it kind of funny Nominal gets jumped for this, but also other people did it too. I've never seen other people jump these individuals, but hey, I guess to be fair, Nominal did like another roasting video on him. Well, roasted him again. And then also made a character similar to him, and then people just don't like it. I never really had a problem with this. It was just kind of like, oh, roast video, and people don't like it, I guess. I sort of understand people's anger over this, but also, it never really bothered me. It was just always just stupid roasting videos. They're kind of funny, I guess, and that's all I could say about them. But hey, if you didn't like that, you have Smanik the Hot Dog. I don't really like this dude, but he kind of carried the character, even if he made videos like this shit.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Xenophanes here, your favorite EXE.
I should mention that the guy is kind of a dick writer of the character, probably the fattest dick writer out there. So that's the whole history of this. He started off as FNF, and then he got roasted, and now it's not common as much as it used to be. Nowadays, all he has is FNF remixes, I guess, and different versions of them that people don't like. I hate this community sometimes, and I want to put them in an orphanage and burn it down. I will say I do like the design of the character, and that's probably the only aspect people like about him. I don't know, like, let me know what you like about this version of Xenophanes. So, the canon version of the character is kind of messy. I'm not sure if certain info on him is true or false. It's interesting if it is, though, because he has some potential to him. The stuff about him having an apprentice and also rock and roll has to be true. I don't think this is like false info or anything. I'm pretty sure that stuff is somewhat true. I'm not too huge on his design. It's kind of all over the place. Like, this could be the design, or this could be the design, or this one. I don't really have anything to say about it. I guess I'm more for this design. I don't really like his human design, not because, oh, it's punk rocker edgy or something. It's just, I don't know, I think it's just the face, I just don't like it. I will say that it does look a little bit better with this image existing, but even then, I'm still in the same boat. I could try to add more to this, but I don't know what to say. I'm not sure about certain info, and I should just wait. Overall, Xenophanes is pretty alright at best. He's not like a bad character, he just doesn't really have a lot to him. His canon counterpart is a far more interesting version of him. It's kinda sad he got bullied, but maybe he'll have his time to shine someday. Probably not. Anyways, that's basically it, and I'll see you guys next time, and bye.
I have electricity. What do you have?
I don't think I need to explain what Sally.exe is. It's an EXE game. It also ripped off something that is arguably better. But are you familiar with the character Sally._? If you're not, that's because this character is very under-acknowledged by the EXE community. I barely see people bring this character up when they're talking about Sonic.exe. Hell, I don't even see any fan art or even much fan content around this character. We now live in an age where fucking Fanon Xenophanes is finally getting supported by his creator. And this is the same guy to have this fucking overpowered piece of shit. And then Joe is sitting on his fat Dorito ass not doing anything with her. And it kinda pisses me off because this character actually has a really good design. And it's just rotting away until eventually it's finally used for something. And what sucks even more is that this character has a really cool concept behind it. It's actually pretty interesting to look into. Sally._ was gonna have a game called Overthrown. And surprisingly enough, you can actually play this game, but I see nobody ever talk about it, and I could personally see why. I tried looking up this game on YouTube and was only able to find Luigi Kid's playthrough of it, so I could definitely prove to you that this game is a real game that does exist, and it's pretty rough. I think it was supposed to get remade, but this game completely went to the shitter and never got finished. It would be nice if somebody went out of their way to remake this with their own spin on it, but that probably won't ever happen. The fact people don't even want to remake the original Sally.exe goes to show that nobody wants to remake this. Luckily enough, Overthrow does actually have a story, but I haven't really read it, to be honest with you. But I am familiar with the Sally stuff because I sat down and read about this character. The main gist I can get from the story is that Sally, this version of the character, was abused by their Sonic, and they were able to steal the powers of this Sonic and get interdimensional travel to go kill Mobians. But she also gets the help of the canon current version of Eggman, but he just can't take roboticizing a bunch of Mobians. But Sally doesn't care about this because she now starts to have a hatred for all Sonics out there, and her goal is to get revenge revenge and take over the world or destroy it. I'll be honest, I'm a little confused by this, just a little. I think she's trying to rebuild it. I do think this story would benefit from a rewrite, but of course I don't think that's gonna happen. And each character was supposed to represent an aspect of abuse. It's kind of fucked up, but I honestly love it, especially with the fact that Sally kidnaps Mobians and forces Eggman to roboticize them pretty gruesomely. And that is everything that relates to Sally. Underscore. Their original creator left the EXE community and now they're owned by Johto Boy, so eventually something will be done with her. But by then we'll probably have a Xenophanes animated series or a fanfiction. It just makes me kinda sad, cause Sally is a piece of Sonic media that I don't really see touched upon when it comes to Sonic horror. I have never really seen much Sonic horror media that is about the comics or cartoons. And now Sally._ is left to rot away until eventually something happens. And we have no idea what her new iteration is going to be going for. And the concepts that are presented in Overthrow are just going to be gone in the water. We're never going to see those again. Which also means saying goodbye to these pretty cool designs. I hope one day this character rightfully gets acknowledged. She just has a really nice, appealing design. There's so many things I can point out about it. Maybe one day people will finally do shit with her, but for now she's just gonna sleep in her grave until eventually she wakes up. Fuck you, Xeno. I will patiently await for Overthrow or Sally.exe to be remade. There's definitely been attempts. I won't act like people haven't done anything with her, but I'm just kinda sad. Just, I don't know, click off this video. It's about to end anyways, so I'll just see you next time. I actually have no idea how to start off this video, but I 100% bet some of you don't know who this guy is. His name is Examorph. For a while I called him Exammer for some reason. I am being 100% serious about this. I bet you guys don't know who Examorph is, so I'm about to let you know who he is, so let's begin. So Examorph has a pretty simple story. Basically, he's trapped inside of a game, and you know, being trapped inside of a video game can make you go insane, which is what happened to this guy. He went insane and was able to manipulate the game, and then he started to get a god complex, like any sane person would do after being trapped inside of a video game. And that's basically it. Really simple and short. There is kinda more to it, but I'll get into it as the video goes on, but yeah, really simple. It's simple and basic, and that's really it, just a simple backstory. I could try to say more about it, but I have nothing else to add, so let's just move on to the next section of the video because I have nothing else to say. Okay, now I can get into the interesting stuff. So if you haven't been paying attention to his name, Examorph, well, he can morph into anything he wants. So we have his basic form, and then you have like this thing where he looks like a gooey squid thing. So yeah, it actually looks more fleshy to me, but I swear that's what it said on the wiki. But anyways, Examorph is not that good at being Sonic, and he knows this. He couldn't even imitate him, like he really tried to base his form off of him, but just didn't do the best job. You might be confused about what I'm talking about, even I'm confused a bit, but it has something to do with Sonic's classic form. So yeah, basically that. So this was interesting to me. So Examorph's victims are actually not like ghosts or anything, they're actually like actual Sonic characters like in the game. Even Sonic is involved in this, being trapped in random areas that Examorph just sends him to, which is just kind of funny, where he's just like, yeah, screw you, dude. And he messes with them in various different ways, but you know how I brought up how Examorph, man, his name is kind of complicated to say, is able to like mess around with the world? Well, he has this lighter thing that he could just pull out and make the sky red. There aren't many other things to bring up. There's something to do with, like, voice manipulation. Like, he's good at it, I think. There's also, like, this fact about him liking pizza. So, that's cool. If he did have a game, it would take place on, like, the Dreamcast. So, hey, Sonic Adventure. You even have this picture for it. So, I actually could see some potential in such a thing. Imagine just going around messing with Sonic's friends. So, let's just finally get into his design. I feel like his design is kinda basic. What's carrying it for me would have to be the eye and probably the whole spike aesthetic going on. And like, if you didn't notice about the eye, which is something I like, he has them like normal at first, but then eventually could split it into just one. I feel like his whole FNF design should look far more like Adventure Sonic, like this image right here. I really have no thoughts on his true form. It would be nice if we get like a better drawing of it someday, because it has like specific details that we don't get to see in this drawing. I did find this cool image of him as a hand, and I like it. So that's Examorph. Interesting guy, I gotta say. More people should talk about him, so I don't have anything else to add on to this. If he ever gets his own game, I think that would be pretty hype. So that's basically it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. X or Zero Fanes. It's really one of those. He just goes by many different aliases. This video might actually be pretty long, and I have my reasoning for that, but we'll get into it when we reach that point. But for right now, let's talk about this guy before I have to get into all that stuff. Our story begins with Dr. Eggman, or Robotnik, realizing that, man, I can't beat Sonic, and he realizes it's because of his robots, and he needs something, like, fleshy. So he digs up his dead grandfather's research papers and instantly gets to work, so he has to find something, like, special for this. So, it's like a special ingredient, and the special ingredient being Sonic and Shadow. He needs something from them. Once all of this comes to fruition, he gets a brain, he gets his robots to do something. Zero is born, but he does get put through various hard tests, but he was luckily able to get through them all, I hope. And he starts to recommend stuff to Dr. Eggman or Robotnik, but Eggman would always say no to this, kinda like asking your drunk dad about something, but Zero realized that, oh, he just likes doing this for fun. You know, it just gives him a thrill, so I'm just gonna leave. So the dude just goes on a little journey, stealing the Master Emerald and absorbing himself into it, making him into this thing. But oh no, Zero is trapped now, but only gets unleashed because of 9 from Sonic Prime. Pretty cool to see that be incorporated into an EXE story. But yeah, he was awoken, he's back, and all it took was the Paradox Prism being awoken and probably the Phantom Ruby. That's mentioned in here. He finds out about the multiverse and has a mission to go on. 2 missions to be exact. He's very curious with the EXEs and wants to bring them together, but also wants to become the Ultimate X. That is basically it for right now, and there were a few details I probably missed, but he's getting a comic, so we'll see how this all gets fleshed out. I'm probably gonna cover it when it gets released, but yeah, the story is pretty decent, maybe even good. I can't really say a lot about it because it's not fleshed out all the way, but I could actually see this be somewhat believable where Eggman actually does this, and then this guy decides, alright, it's time to become the Ultimate X and bring everybody together. It's cool seeing this be in the modern era of Sonic and seeing something from Sonic Prime be incorporated. Please, I need more modern Sonic stuff. His motive kind of reminds me of Fatal's. That's all I just want to say about it. It just kind of reminds me of that. So there's not much else to say, so let's move on. So, time to get into the juice of it all. Let's start off small until we get into the bigger stuff. If you haven't caught on, this guy kinda resembles Xenophanes, and he's actually a fan of the guy. The dude had various different names at one point. One reminds me of this one EXE guy that's like red and he has blue shoes. Maybe you can catch on to that. Zero has various different joke names, my personal favorite being Green Fanafa Fames. I didn't say that right, but it's pretty good. You know what, I got my own joke names. I got Gronix, Gron, Victor, Green Man. That's it. His story takes after a Greek god that I forgot the name of. Their name starts with an N, and that's all I remember about their name, but now it's getting into the stuff that I find really interesting. So Zero can shapeshift. I think there's only like 3 EXEs that could do that, so I like that. He can only do this if he gets enough data on an EXE, so here's him just taking the form of Zamtez and also Metal Overlord. I don't know why he could turn into Metal, unless it's just non-canon artwork, but speaking of Metal, he has metallic clones. I don't know what they do. I don't know if Eggman made them. Maybe he did, or Zero did that. Maybe they hang around the prickle. If you're wondering what this place is supposed to be, it's like his secret hideaway area. All we have is this image to go off of, and like, I think there's a staircase behind him, or they're like monitors. Wouldn't mind seeing a full image of this someday. You guys know about SS4/, you know, the guy from Path to Deicide, or that random wiki page you can find. But yeah, he's a part of Zero's story. Maybe. It's probably going to change at some point. Zero convinced him to join his side, so he just hangs around the prickle. I don't know what he does for a living. Does he just sit around and do nothing? I guess he sits around and guards it, but I'm not really sure. FNF, you know what FNF is? Well, Zero has a vendetta against Boyfriend. This 5-year-old is making everybody look like a joke, so I don't blame the guy for being mad. Dude would destroy an entire city, I bet, which is something I heard. He's even afraid of being forgotten about, which is very interesting to me. Like, dude actually is afraid of being forgotten, and like, that's just kind of depressing. Okay, one more thing to bring up. This guy is a bit of a ladies' man and will date any female ex. I think he has like 2 girlfriends, but I have something to say. Zero, do not date her. I'll go to the prickle right now. I will join your little like team. And yeah, just don't do it, man. This would usually be the part where I get into the EXE's design, but Damn it, man. I just gotta add this in here. Let's just get it over with.
For the first time, I'm actually proud of you. I wish I could be there to give me a hug. No, to bitch slap you. I fucking.
Oh wait, I forgot to bring up that he has a huge ego, which is his biggest weakness. Okay, here you go. Hey, complete tonal shift going on here. Okay, so I'm gonna be like full on unfiltered here. I'm just gonna be like, full on honest and all that fucking shit. But yeah. Okay. So I was wondering to myself if this should have just been its own video, but it somewhat relates to the character, and I just need to complain about it because it just pisses me off a little bit. I gotta defend the boy Persona 5 guy, so I don't want this to be long, but it's like two things that relate to the character and just, the shit show that is the fucking EXE community in a nutshell. But yeah, let's just get this over with. I gotta complain about this. It just fucking pisses me off. But yeah, so two things. So you know how in the video I've already brought up that like Zero has a girlfriend. There's like two things I'm bringing up consist of like shipping and also like him being a clone of Xenophanes. All right, let's start off with the fucking shipping. Shipping isn't bad, depending on how you handle it, but I truly am convinced the X community is like mentally fucking scarred by something. Two things. That being Raw Sonic. Remember the time when we saw all that artwork of Raw with women? I bet the X community is so mentally scarred by it now that they're like, oh, well, we can't take the character seriously even knowing it's separate. Like, when I saw this shit, yeah, I definitely couldn't take Lilith seriously anymore. So, yeah, thanks a lot, dude, but I don't really get it. Like, it's not even canon artwork or anything. Like, I know this might sound like, I know it sounds fucking stupid. I really know this whole part might sound dumb with, like, the fucking green light that I have in my room. But, like, it's like, I don't know, let Shib do what he wants with it. It's his fucking character. I don't get it. It's actually kind of interesting to me. You don't see many EXCs, like, be in romantic relationships. I find that interesting. Except like two of them, like Sarah and Lilith, I can only think of, and they haven't really been fleshed out all that great. Well, one's like developing, and the other one just didn't do all that great development wise. But I mean, let the guy do what he wants. It's not like the Raw Sonic situation where you get to see him be like shipped with like 6 characters. Like, yeah, this is kind of cancer, but it's not. It's not like it's hurting anybody. I don't fucking get it. It's not that. It's not that deep. Like, let him do what he wants. I find it kind of interesting, and I'm curious if he'll flesh it out some more. Hopefully, it never reaches to Raw territory, because if it does, then there's a reason to complain about it. Um, yeah, I guess I didn't have a lot to say about this. We're moving quickly, but yeah, it's just fucking annoying to me. And then there's like, well, uh, the creator of like Zero made like a voice call, like did something on Twitter, and people were just being kind of dicks about the character. Criticism's fine and all, but it's like I almost am convinced these people aren't even criticizing the characters anymore. They're salty over this fucking video from 2 years ago. Like, I understand. I'm not particularly like greatly like happy that this happened to Xenophanes, but like you're really now gonna start gatekeeping people for making a character that is similar to him. Like, it was 2 fucking years ago. Move on, please. I'm not particularly happy about it either, but like, it was 2 fucking years ago. Damn, this community really does have its problems. Like, a complete utter shit show sometimes, and it fucking makes me mad. Like, I get it, but it's like, it happened 2 fucking years ago. Like, I just, like, please fucking move on. Like, you know what? I think this character is interesting, but I just fucking hate how for some reason we have to now, like, if an EXE is similar to another one, then it's instantly fucking rip-off territory, and then said person will never give it her argument on it. Fucking pisses me off. Like, yeah, it's like, I'm literally going fucking moist critical Sam the Crasnates over here, and I just fucking can't. This could have been, I know this could have been, like, basically just a separate video, but I just wanted to throw this in here. You could skip it. I should have said that in the beginning, but fucking hell, man. it's so fucking annoying. And all I could really say to X creators is that, like, I feel bad for Chip. It's not like he almost cried. And I think that's just fucking sad. Like, this, like, I guess always remember you'll have those people that will support you, but then the other half that won't. It's just, I don't know, man. I just fucking hate it. I just like let the guy ship if he wants to. It's not hurting anybody. It didn't go into like raw Sonic territory where it's like he shipped with like 6 fucking women or something. Like I fucking can't. And I do hope that some X creators do like see this part of the video. If they like, I know this is like a character analysis video, but like I just wanted to throw this in here. It's too late now. I don't know if this could be a separate video. So yeah, if you want to skip over it, that's fine. But I'm not like particularly just, I don't know, it pisses me off. Just like this community's got to do a little bit better. I just like look at a character for what they are, not for like what they assemble, and it's just fucking annoying. And let shipping be a thing, but if it gets too crazy, then I guess you have your reason to be fucking pissed. I'm sorry this is such a long video. I just had to add this in because I forgot to bring it up. I'm sorry it's so long. You can skip, but like I'm pretty annoyed also too with the fact that said person that was like, I don't think I brought it up, but said person that was like asking Chip something said, well, hey, if you ship your EXE with women, it makes their character bad and you can't take them seriously. Well, maybe they have a point. I can't take Lilith seriously because she has a fiance, so her character is instant dog shit. Are you fucking kidding me? What do you mean? That's such a dumb fucking argument. Like, I don't get it. Like, I kind of understand it, but it's just like, what do you fucking mean? Like, okay, but like, I could still take the character seriously even with that. And I also like, it's like they want an EXE to just, it's like they want every EXE out there to just be a shitty one-dimensional killer, and I don't want that. I mean, if you want that, you can always read the shitty like, creepypasta for that. Okay, I think I'm done here, but like, yeah, it sucks. I fucking can't. Please, just fucking stop. This design just has something that pops to me, and I just can't explain it. Like, have you seen him in comic form? He just genuinely looks really good. I think what carries the design might just be the coloring, the spike on his head, his grin, the chest fur, and that's really it. I don't think I need to go any deeper. Well, this was pretty long, and finally I could get it over with, so, you know what? Yeah, I like this dude. I would kiss him. Probably not, actually, but, yeah, that's basically it from me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
I wonder if there's a McDonald's around here.
There he is! Fucking right to the left side of the cheese,
Hey you, yes you, have you ever conquered the world before? Oh wait, you've never conquered the world in your life before? Well, too bad, I guess you're just not like the almighty Xylon. Xylon is the king of taking over the world, and you should be disappointed that you're never gonna reach this guy in his level. You know what Xylon had to do to conquer the world? Touch a crystal. You're never gonna be able to do that. But who is he? And what does his world have to it all? Now I just want to note something. This is not the first time I've talked about him before, and this time around there's a lot to cover. I do actually mean this. I spent 2 hours reading his wiki page, and I'm not joking. No human should put themselves through so much torture, but I like torturing myself. It's like reading the Bible, but it's about Red Sonic. So you know what, I'm not even gonna waste any more time here, cause I really don't wanna, so let's begin. There's a lot of detail to the story, so I'm just gonna condense it down to the best way I can. So there were these crystals that existed, and these crystals can teleport you to various different universes. And one day they sorta just came into existence. So we cut to our good friend Hassan, who eventually becomes Xylon. I meant to say hummus, this is not the last time I get names wrong. But of course he has to fix up a pipe before he goes home. And he finds himself one of those mysterious crystals. He thinks about sharing the thing, but eventually decides to keep it to himself. But uh-oh, he ends up in an unfamiliar world after touching it, and he feels weird. Even his body feels weird too. And that's because he did actually change, and because of this now, he has to adapt to the new world he's in. But he's gonna need a little bit of help. He wants to build a castle, and he gets himself a crew that consists of Shard, Neon, Sovereign, and Elisa. What they don't realize is that eventually they're gonna get fucked over by Xylon. Imagine finding out that your husband became a genocidal maniac and wanted to conquer the world. That's gotta be mentally scarring. Anyways, Neon builds a teleporter device, and Xylon pretends pretends that he doesn't know how it works, even knowing he does know how it works. Finally, everybody finishes up their work on the castle, but oh no, Xylan rushes over to the teleporter and sends everybody away, except him. So now it's time for him to conquer the world. I think that's what it's actually called. So at this point with the story, it's very action-oriented, which is something I actually like about it. There's a few other things I like about the story too, but it's just non-stop action. There is no horror to be found here. Xylan starts beating the fuck out of a bunch of different things to get to an energy core and all that fucking shit. Then he slightly gets genocidal and wants everything to die. But after all that epic fighting, Shard comes back and he's not happy. But he gets his ass completely handed to him and tells Xylan not to do what he's gonna do. But he doesn't give a shit. And so, Xylan accomplishes his goal and he starts to broadcast himself to the world. And he wants everybody to listen to him. But if you don't, well, you're gonna die. And that's it for the story. But is it really the end? Could there potentially be more to this story? Actually, yes, it seems. So that was kind of a lot to get into. What do I think of it? I think what I like about this story is that there's a lot more to be built off of. But I think my favorite thing about it has to be the mystery aspects. You got stuff like the crystals, Xylan himself as a character, the world that he lives in, and my favorite one being the past rulers. Before Xylan took over, there used to be past rulers. And I'm wondering who these rulers used to be. Were they just like Xylan, or were they some sort of alien species or something? And what happened to them? Does a ruler eventually have their time come where they get destroyed and a new one takes their place? And getting back into the crystals, what kind of world could the crystals take you to? I find this stuff intriguing and I kinda would love to learn more about it. I don't think the story does a bad job building to a bigger narrative, and I'm curious to see where it would go. Like, who in the actual fuck are those past rulers? And something I've noticed is that the story might have taken a little bit of inspiration from Transformers. Could be wrong, but it's something I noticed. So that's it for now. Let's get into the characters now. Holy fuck, these characters have a lot of detail to them, but I'll condense them down. First up, we got Xylan. Xylan is a fucking menace to society, it seems. Xylan has a decent amount of strength to him, and not only that, he'd rather not waste his time. He's too busy conquering and trying to get praised. I am wondering why he'd even try to do this, but he did have a warped mindset going on with him, so maybe the story will do something with that. And I do want to note that each character seems to have their own unique knowledge to them. I'm not going to list down every ability, but they all have something interesting to them when it comes to their abilities. Xylan is able to scream electricity out of his mouth. Next up, we got Shard. At one point, he used to be in a bar, and he was into some motorcycles, by the way, too. He's very determined to get back at Xylan and doesn't really care for others. His abilities are Shard-based, so that means he can make a Shard tornado. Next up is Neon, and at a young age, he was really good at building stuff. Neon isn't really for fighting and is more a technological guy that tries to figure out a way to make a plan. Sometimes he'll get into hand-to-hand combat, but sometimes he just doesn't. He does find technology to be interesting though. Next up is Sovereign. He's probably my favorite character that I'm going to be talking about out of everyone. Sovereign is a gunsmith and was a part of a family of gunsmith, and he tries to perfect his craft with guns. He's not much of a talker, but when he does talk, he does have a purpose for the reason of why he's doing that. And then we finally make it to Elisa. She is able to cure people, so she's basically just kind of like a doctor. She might look adorable, but she would literally poison you and experiment on you. It's something that she would actually use as a battle tactic too. And that is every character. Each of them have an interesting aspect to make them stand out from each other. I want to quickly bring up Xylan again because he's an inch taller than fucking Lilith, which I find really funny. Anyways, that's basically all. So that's everything that Xylan has to offer. I'm intrigued with the various aspects of the story, and I'm curious where it would go. Always remember that you'll never make it to the level of Xylan, because he touched a crystal. Well, I'll see you around and stuff. So Zamtez, I was supposed to talk about this guy like I think 2 weeks ago, but I was like busy doing other stuff, but now I'm doing it now, so let's just get right into it. So Zamtez has a lot to his backstory, so usually when I make these kind of videos, I like to read EXE wikis on like the character I'm covering, and holy crap, there's a lot. I'm not going to cover everything that relates to his whole origins because like I said, there's a lot. I'm just going to bring up the most important details to his origins, but there are some cool things on there like the mention of xenophanes. Just out of nowhere. There's the mention of this like power matter thing that like people used for like good or evil. And I think it related to like a bunch of different EXEs. But we're talking about Zamtez here, not this stuff. So to start off, well, the life counter of Sonic 1. So through a bunch of different copies of Sonic 1, the life counter maxed up to like this really giant number. And it was like, oh, it seems like this thing is missing from the game, and it brings in this like purple orb thing. It's actually more summed up as like this dot, but I consider it more of an orb because of this. Don't worry, I'll talk about this a little bit later. So yeah, Zamtez came together as this like purple dot orb thing and like hooked up to like a bunch of Genesis, I think. Because of this, Zamtez saw the horrors of humanity and was like, well, they're not fit to rule, so I'm going to become king. Not gonna lie, I'd probably do the same. Like, if I saw humanity, I'd probably want to become king too. But anyways, he wants to rule over Mobius, but he needs a vessel. So what is he going to do? He's going to go to Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is when this comes in. On the wiki, it mentions this whole video in like text form, but I kind of want to show you like it in like footage form. If you don't know, there's actually 2 more of these videos, but I'm just going to be showing you this one.
Watching you for quite some time, young one. You have shown me great strength, but you are wasting your potential. You have the power to take everything, to steal this world's will, and make it your own. But you refuse to. You are wasting your time, young one. You fight your enemies, but you don't strike them down. You allow them to continue on, that they may continue destroying the land that should be yours. I am but a guiding light for now, but let me use you as a vessel, young one, and your enemies will fall. This land you shall rule, and power will be in your hands. That is my promise.
I don't think I'm gonna take that offer, bud.
Then I shall not fight you. I already got everything that I needed.
So I think this video gives you a decent amount of context, but basically Zamtez needed to like get Sonic's vessel. It really didn't matter what Sonic was going to say. He was just sort of, I guess, needing time to give himself like an appearance. So he went to a cave. So he basically went out of his way to design himself. He had like yellow eyes, but he didn't care. And so slowly he gave himself a more king-like appearance and gave himself the name Zamtez. And that's basically it. There is a little bit more to this, like the fact he turned Lavert Zone, Marvel Zone into his castle, and him basically turning Sonic's friends into like his slaves, sorta. Something I find very interesting is that he used their like bodies as dead bodies as like a scare tactic, basically being like, yeah, that's right, I'm king and I'm in charge. It also seems that he actually cares about them a bit, even Eggman. He just sort of has this like tough love relationship with them. So pretty interesting. So overall, I think his backstory is actually pretty decent. It's not like top tier, but I think it has a good enough setup to it. He comes into existence as this orb because of the Sonic 1 life counter, which I actually kinda like. Him finding out about humanity and hating it and was like, I gotta become king. Basically needing Sonic as a vessel, making himself, and becoming king. I even find that stuff with Sonic's friends to be interesting. Like, Zamtez doesn't like feel like, oh, I'm just gonna kill them because I wanna. He just sorta does it as a scare tactic to like scare people. But overall, he has a pretty decent backstory, so let's now get into his design because I want to talk about it. So we have 2 designs to cover, starting off with his vessel form. It's not that bad. It's a fine enough vessel form. I like the yellow eyes and the giant grin. Though I will say, when looking at some references of this, it's a little goofy. Like, I'm sorry. I don't have anything else to say about it. As for this design, I like it, still has the goofy grin, but is, not bad. I think what has to carry it has to be the color scheming, and especially, like, the black spikes. That's all I have to say. So as for that was Zamtez. Pretty interesting EXE that I feel like some people probably know about, but instantly forget about. It feels like he has a decent enough following, but then also doesn't, but I don't really know what else to say about it. I guess he's decently known a little bit. So that's basically it. See ya.
A short silence before Xanthus answered.
I love Totino's pizza rolls.
Zamtez.
Ah!
It's been 2 to 3 years since we've last heard from the guy, and now he's back with a new coat of paint. And with that coat of paint comes a completely new story for the guy, which is a little unexpected, but was completely necessary for the guy. I've always had a soft spot for this purple pingus in my heart, but even I could admit, his old lore kinda sucks ass. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but it's a little weird. And with the new story comes a completely new redesign, which I definitely have some things to say. But overall, I don't dislike the new direction for the character. I actually kinda like it, to be honest with you. There are certain things I'm gonna miss depending on if Zamtez's story gets rid of this stuff I'll bring up later. But we're just gonna get into it right now. Let's take a look at Purple Sonic Thanos Man and what he's been up to as of 2 years or 3 years. I'm not going to do a huge recap of the both of these videos, but I will explain some of it. Our story begins with our 3 characters here, one called Meldrick and I forgot the other 2, so take it away, Clown Man.
Austin and Emilio.
They've been wandering through Standopolis from Sonic 3, and it's been straight up fucking torture for them, and they can't even really go to sleep. So here comes Fuckface McGee. This guy, he really likes to ruin the fun. So from my memory when it comes to early Zamtez lore, this guy would instantly commit bloodshed to prove some sort of point. But now he comes down from his shit throne and is like, hey, I'm Sonic. He comes around and parades around as the guy, and even calls these 3, not by their actual names, but as the actual characters. And we get amazing lines like this.
Not tough enough for the wasteland, huh, Nux?
I want to shove a turkey sandwich down his throat so hard. I don't mind this change. I'm actually kinda intrigued to see how he plays off the other characters, cause so far we only have his interactions with Meldrin. Speaking of that, she gets really mad with Zamtez and I don't blame her. I would have beaten the crap out of him immediately. And so, Zamtez reveals himself to her, well, with his voice, and her friends try breaking this up. And cutting to the end of it all, they find a pyramid and go inside of it. Of course, this guy can't stop being a dick and has to make a snarky comment, being like, hey, who knows what you're gonna find in there? And that is the first part of her story. It's actually not a bad introduction, but there are still a few questions here and there. Something I am wondering about is that, does this guy still hate humanity? Did he only drag these 3 victims into his world because he hates humanity and this is his way of showing it? One more thing, is Curse still around? Is he dead? Is he still gonna be in the story? I don't even know if he could really fit into the story depending on where it's going. I kinda would love to see the guy, but we have a Valentine's video to get into. So you'd think this video would have no lore significance to it. It does. It actually does. It's Valentine's Day, and Zamtez is asking Meldrick who she loves. Oh, by the way, this is the first time we find out that Meldrick is a girl, and it freaks me the fuck out. She doesn't really answer that because fuck this guy. But she does ask a very important question. Who does he love? Obviously, this pink hedgehog that's probably dying from a heat stroke. No, he's actually lying about it, and he only loves himself. He doesn't say this, but Meldrin is able to catch on to it, and that's the video. That's basically it. I'm not really sure where this fits into the story, but it's an okay part of it. But, you know, something does happen. The story is moving forward. Meldrin doesn't physically throw hands with this guy, but I like the fact that she doesn't put up with his shit. I wouldn't be too surprised if she derails the guy with a train at some point. You don't really see her ex-victims fighting back all that often, and it's honestly kind of a nice change of pace when they do. Oh, and Purple Pingus. I think he's kind of a fun character, just hearing about his whole gist and demeanor going on. I unfortunately can't say much about these 2 right now. They just don't have much. They just kind of stand their ground. So far, I don't dislike where this is going, but we do have a design we have to get into. Oh, fuck, I don't know how to feel about this design. Something I will give it is that it kind of feels like it isn't Xenophanes inspired anymore, where at this point I can kind of look at it as its own character. I do prefer the 2 other designs he had, but even then you can kind of look at him and be like, oh, it's just Xenophanes, but he doesn't have his crystals on him. I like that this design embraces that he's an actual king, so why not do that? I am slowly getting used to this design, all due to the Valentine's Day video, but it might take a little more time to fully get a final verdict on this design, but it isn't the worst thing ever. So that is the new Zamtez lore. I'll admit, there's gonna be a few things I'm gonna miss from the old Zamtez lore. Well, depending if that stuff got removed from the story, but it's definitely an improvement. If there's more stuff, we will be back once again. Though I bet this guy makes out with himself in the mirror 100%. So that's it for now. Go home. Leave.
I love Totino's pizza rolls.
I swear to fucking God, Nominal, he better be inside that pyramid or we're gonna have some problems. Hey, didn't you say that you weren't gonna support Nominal Dingus anymore? Yeah, I did, and I still stand by that point. I am in the mood to complain about something. A character that Nominal made that I do not really like anymore, that being Unused. I used to think that he was just an okay character. Not great, not amazing, just okay. I don't really like him anymore. I find him to be an extremely underwhelming character that has nothing to offer. He has zero to no backstory, and if you try to piece it together, it's kinda shitty. He's not an egregiously bad EXE, unless you consider being made out of spite, but even then, he fucking sucks. So let's get into the various problems that his character suffers from.
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, Charles. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Unused has no backstory. Actually, he does, but also, no he doesn't. He lives down in the sewers with all the poop shit and rats galore. One day he met Majin and they did a podcast together, and he has a dad, and that's it. Wow, Nominal, you're pretty good at writing stories. Now go to jail, you untalented fuck. That was the best attempt I could give for a story. It's not great. It's not even one to begin with. It's just random events being smashed together. I don't know if I'm supposed to take it seriously or not take it seriously. Actually, why am I even asking this question? It can't be answered. He's a guy that hangs out with Majin, lives with the guy, and has a dad. This is the type of writing you would get from a modern Family Guy episode and maybe Has Been Hotel. But hey, his name is Unused. Maybe you could do something with that concept. No, Nominal does jack shit with it. I'm gonna make Faker 2.0 so Raven can get pissed at me and tell me to never use her character ever again. There is not much more I need to say about this. Let's just get into his personality. Maybe it's better.
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, Charles. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Unused is just a guy. I know I already said that, but literally, he is just a guy. But wait, there's more. He's laid back every once in a while. He's, the comic relief funny man. And, he's a bitch.
Unused has terrible singing. Thanks, Xenofames. Telling me I have terrible singing. Your creator has terrible fanfic writing skills. So, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, you literally shoved jewelry into your hair to look cool, man. I don't know about that. Your human form literally looks like an emo shut-in. And yeah, that's pretty fitting, because all you do is go around and trying to scare people because your parents never taught you proper social skills. They couldn't afford to send you to a public school, so they had to teach you themselves. And they didn't know much either, so you already know how that's gonna end up. My gosh. You look like someone told you the theme is horror, and you took it like way too hard. You took it way too much, like you took it way too close to heart. You were like, horror, I'm gonna be the scariest mother hubber there. And then you copied someone's whole thing with the X on your chest. Good job, Xenophage, or Xenophanes, or however you pronounce. You named yourself after a Greek philosopher. Alright, I cannot think of a lamer thing to be called than Xenophanes. Alright? Xenophanes, I'm about to break your knees, okay? No dad, no mom, no creativity, no hope, no inspiration, okay? No originality. You have nothing, no bitches. You still don't have anything. How is that possible? You've been alive for 300,000 years, and you have nothing to show for it. Your kingdom is gone.
I want you to keep in mind that this is what he looks like. I think he does have some decent character chemistry with Majin, but that's not me complimenting his personality. That's literally just me saying, hey, the character chemistry is decent. That's not really a personality trait. I gave him something, so suck my dick.
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, Charles. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Is Unused funny? Yes and no. I do not remember laughing at any of his jokes. I could appreciate the approach to some of them, but even then, it's not the funniest, but maybe sometimes it can be. Looking back, I don't find the train derailment jokes to be all that funny, and that's because it's the same fucking joke every time, and it barely gets deviated on. Same joke with the same punchline. Honestly, Dabdude crashed lashing out over SML is funnier.
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, Charles. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Alright, the moment of truth. Is this a good design? No, it's not. It's a barrel of butt cheeks. It's classic Sonic, but he doesn't have any eyes. Very creative and interesting. I want to see the vision here, and yet it's just so lazy and lifeless. You can tell that there was no passion put into it. Mom, Dad, I made my first Sonic.EXE OC, and then they beat the shit out of their kid because it's awful. So, I don't really like it.
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, Charles. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
That was a lot of bitching and complaining. I don't like Unused anymore. I used to think he was an okay character, but now I realize that there was no passion put into him, and Nominal made him out of spite. Best of luck to the new owner if they can fix this character, but if you're asking me, I would have thrown them down a cliff. Unused is a shitty character that I don't see much potential in. Needle Mouse, the purple bastard. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. But how did I find out about them? Well, it was all because of this.
Not you again.
I'm gonna teach you how to fly. Big Bang. That was cheap. You know. Wait a minute. You're not so cheap.
I'm not.
Seeing this animation truly changed me for the better. So that's how I found out about the purple rat. You probably already know about them because of FNF or something else, but you just can't make me hate this little goofy bucko. So let's get into them. I'm not gonna get too deep into the story of Needle Mouse because I could save that for another day, but I'll still get into it anyways. Basically, it's about a girl that got killed by her friends and she wants to get revenge. This all started at a party, and so their friends, after killing her, decide, alright, let's go bury her somewhere and forget about her. So she's rightfully mad about it. So Sarah is in a black void for 60 years straight until eventually Sega gets built on top of her. It was like near a lake. So then she ends up in this weird ROM of like Sonic games, consisting of Sonic 1, Sonic CD, 2, and 3. CD never shows up in the series, but that's kind of what I remember. I think the creator stated this somewhere, but I could be wrong about it. So the first season is just her trying to get back at her friends, and the second season continues this on with 2 new characters. There is definitely a lot more to this, but I want to save this for something someday. But I like it. It's an interesting take on your usual blood-eyed killer, and there's actually some reason to it. I also just kind of have a thing for these type of EXEs, them being your average person but then eventually just losing everything to them, and becoming these overpowered gods that treat themselves as gods. Actually, I don't know if Sarah flat out considers herself to be one, I don't really remember too much, but I really think this is a very fascinating concept. The series has some pretty good imagery in it. Like, I like this one. This one messes with me. This one also does. JoJo just has a pretty good art style, and they've made like a lot of good artwork out there. But I would say I've had some pretty good memories with this series, and it kinda terrified me. I'm not gonna lie. There are some moments that I like in this series, like the one where Luthor and Sarah in a car. That's just really wholesome. I love that scene. Though that doesn't mean this series doesn't have a few problems with it. A lot of people just started hating this series, and even like Sarah themselves. And I guess it's kind of justified, I'm not gonna lie. But I gotta say, the arguments of the character are just so weird, I just don't want to get into them. A few problems I guess I could get into are like, Atem, they're not a bad idea, but they kind of just come out of nowhere. Like, I don't hate the idea of them, but they could have been executed better. Michael and Martin fucking die. They don't really do much in the series. You could just make the series about Sarah and Luthor instead, and it wouldn't change all that much. But with all of that aside, I still like the series at the end of the day. This was kind of a long segment, but I just wanted to talk about the series a bit, so now we can finally move on. There are a lot of pieces of info for this series out there, and I'm not going to get into all of it, only the things I find interesting. So to start off, Sarah was an extreme alcoholic, and didn't give a crap about these two fellas. She cared more about Luthor. So she didn't really get along with these fellas, but I never knew she was drunk until like literally today. So originally, and I find this to be a really cool idea, a Needle Mouse was going to be like possessing a non-willing Sonic, so he was like full on sensing of what was going on. I actually wouldn't mind seeing somebody explore this idea. It doesn't even have to be horror theme, I just think it's pretty cool. I think a lot of people probably already know about this, but Needle Mouse was going to have a crossover with Hood Rats, but that never happened. Until recently. Now her character lives on through that, same for Luthor and Lily, and now she looks like this and she's called Sarah Prime. That's kind of a funny name, I don't know why she's called that. So when Needle Mouse was getting rebooted, one of the ideas was to have Sarah work at Sega, but we don't really know a lot about this. We will find this out when Speed Duo comes to an end. I'm pretty interested to see how that would have gone. Damn, there's not much else for me to really get into. Sarah could give you nightmares. That's awesome. Something even more awesome is that she would have had a super form, but for some reason her Needle Mouse form looks like she just consumed the fire flower. This is some pretty nice artwork. I don't think JoJo made this. Same for this one where she's climbing out of the mouth of Needle Mouse like it's a mascot costume. So Sarah has an older design. It looks like this. She might have been called Susie because of a misspelling in an episode of Needle Mouse. Funny thing about that is the name of a Deltarune character. And in that same game, there's also a group called the Fun Gang, I think. That's in Needle Mouse. That's pretty dope. I think that's all I want to get into. You know about Roundabout, pretty good song, and that Lost Media FNF song, but the Q&A, why don't more EXE creators do these? It's pretty good. Okay, I know she's not really an EXE, but yeah, best Q&A ever. One of the best EXE Q&As of all time. I love how the Q&A gives you the main gist of Sarah's character, and just the interactions with Luthor are pretty funny. She's into stuff like cryptocurrency. I think that's said in the Q&A. Like, I thought you were smarter, Sarah. Like, what's wrong with you? She just has a laptop for some reason that I 100% bet she stole from somewhere because you just wouldn't fucking have that in a black void. I just love how she treats herself as the highest and mightiest. Yeah, don't focus on those other EXEs. I'm the only one. Screw you. Here's my favorite part of that Q&A.
Yeah, I got a favorite song. Staying Alive.
You little shit.
Thanks for the
She's Asian, apparently. Do you guys even know about that, or am I the only one? I do not care what you guys have to say about this design. It's a good design. It's great. The whole purple aesthetic with white and orange. Yeah, I like this design. Same for the human form, which I usually be like afraid of this image, but it just kind of looks like she's offering you some weed. If Sarah actually offered me some weed, I'm instantly smoking that. But overall, I like them, and you can't stop me. If I didn't find that goofy sprite animation of Fleetway Sonic beating the crap out of Needle Mouse, I wouldn't be where I am today. I love this purple bastard. They're great. You just can't make me hate this purple rat, so I will cherish them for a very, very long time, and I will see you guys next time, and bye. I like villains. They're pretty cool. You got your Bowsers, you got your Dr. Eggmans, you got your Dark Vaders, you got your Jokers, you got your Jack Horners, and then you have... Atem is a pretty shitty villain, and I don't really like him. I bet that you forgot that he even existed to begin with. I did too. Atem is basically the William Afton of the Needle Mouse series, if William Afton did absolutely nothing. Atem is a very poorly executed character that I can definitely see some potential in, and yet that potential is just right on the floor. So let's talk about it. Let's get into why Atem is a bad villain, and how his character could have been fixed. Every villain has a start, so when did Atem first show up in the Needle Mouse series? Was he in Season 1? No he wasn't. Well, if he wasn't introduced in Season 1, was he introduced in the beginning of Season 2? Also no. Okay then, when the fuck does this Red Skeleton Man show up? Episode 5, and after that episode, the series comes to an end. Well, I feel absolutely nothing, and my soul is completely gone now. The big issue with this is that Atem does not get a lot of screen screen time, with only having 2 episodes, that doesn't really give him time to develop as a character. Now, to be fair, JoJo could have conjured up the character as they were developing Season 2, which is fine, I have no issue with that. However, I find it to be very jarring. He just shows up and doesn't do much. I would have introduced his character into Season 1, which does mean that you have to do some rewriting, but I do think that there is a way to make his character fit into the story better. I've already mentioned that Atem is a complete nothing burger of a character, but to add on to that, we learn a heaping lot of nothing about him. Actually, we do get to learn one thing about the guy, which has a good and a bad side to it. Let's get into the bad. It ruins Sarah's character to an extent. Yeah, some of the terrible and horrible things that she does, it might not actually be her fault. It's Atem controlling her and trying to tell her that, hey, what you're doing is actually good and it's not bad, which I will admit is a pretty good concept. It's just executed like fucking dog shit. If Atem was in Season 1, I'd have him try to slowly convince Sarah to kill her friends, but Sarah doesn't want to do it because she believes that she was killed on accident, but Atem convinces her that no, it wasn't an accident, and they did it because they hate her or something. Then eventually Sarah caves in and decides to kill her friend, and then eventually she might regret doing that. There you go, I just killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I definitely could polish it up some more, but it does give Atem's character a lot more to do, and maybe that little monologue that he gives to Sarah at the end of the series would have a lot more impact on the viewer. I will admit, he does look pretty creepy, but he's not intimidating at all. Oh no, he took control of this random girl that died in the 60s. I'm fucking terrified. Holy shit, I'm scared. That definitely can make him intimidating, that this thing was able to rot somebody's mind and convince them to go out and murder their friends. But it just doesn't work, unfortunately. I don't need to repeat myself, you already know why it doesn't work. If you want me to be intimidated by this guy, he has to be a constant active threat, but he isn't. Yo, me when Atem just kinda just exist, I guess. Atem is a bad villain, but he didn't need to be. He could have been a good one, maybe even solid. Unfortunately, he's just mid, and he sucks. Alright, I'm gonna go watch the Walden Files now. I'll see you guys later. Sonic Raw. I have a lot of stuff to say about this guy, so there's just no time to waste, and let's just get right into this. So Ra's basic origins as a character is that he basically is the byproduct of EXE and needs to become an EXE. One aspect that I like about his character is that there's a bunch of EXEs that just don't like him. They just think he's trash. I like the fact of how he's being monitored for his work. Like, it gives me this whole vibe of like the Council of EXEs, which I really like as a concept. From reading his wiki page, it mentions that he has this bullying relationship with Lord X and Fatal Error. Though it does seem he's friends with one of them, I guess. Though he still gets bullied, which is pretty sad. F in the chat for my boy. So I'm gonna explain what Ra had to basically do. So he had to like go out of his way and kill Sonic's friends, but he utterly failed at it. So first he tried going after Sonic, but he just fell in dirt because he couldn't catch after him, so I feel sad for him. Next, he tried going out of his way to set up a bunch of lanterns to get Tails, but he utterly failed. Tails goes out of his way to flatter him, which is kinda wholesome, not gonna lie. I do want to mention I like the aspect of Ra's character basically being more, I guess, crafty, where he has to like try to build stuff. So after utterly failing trying to go after Tails, he goes after Knuckles next and makes a frickin' glider, which is epic. He utterly fails and then gets taken back to South Island. This hasn't been the first time, just to let you know. And that is it for his backstory. That's everything. Though I do want to bring this up, he does randomly get power from Eggman. This isn't mentioned on this wiki, but it makes me really happy and I love it. I do love how these random guys he tried hunting after are just like, yeah, we'll help you out, Ra. It's pretty interesting. You would never see EXE victims go out of their way to help out an EXE. From reading his wiki, he honestly became one of my favorite EXEs. Like, he's probably my second favorite now, to be honest. He just has a really good, solid concept. The guy has, like, no power, not even Sonic's speed. So he goes out of his way to basically just make gliders and basically mess around with scenery. And in the end, I guess he sort of does reach that power level, so that's cool. Also, I just want to mention this. He smokes because he's, like, stressed. I would smoke with him. That's cool. Gotta say, this guy looks pretty awesome, and he's epic. Oh, speaking of... He has a pretty good design. I really like it. It has this sort of cool aspect to it. Like, it doesn't scare me, which I know isn't the point, but he looks cool. I really like his black shades and like his slight differing in shoe design. Overall, I like his design a lot. Now, you'd think the video would probably just end here. My final verdict would be, I like Raw Sonic a lot. He's a good character. But I do feel like there is something I need to mention. If you made your own EXE, would you basically just make a base concept for them and then expand upon them over time? If you said yes, you're pretty smart and you know what you're doing. Or would you basically ship your character with female exes because, I don't know, like, I genuinely don't know. So for some reason, the creator of Raw thought it'd be a good idea to basically just be like, I know a good way to expand upon Raw's character. What if I gave him a girlfriend, but it was Sarah Needlemouse? And also had a bunch of other girls slobber all over him. Now here's the thing, I don't know if this is gonna sound controversial, but I don't hate the idea of giving Ra a love interest. It actually could be pretty interesting, like, something like he has to get a partner to help him out with his EXE stuff, and over time he grows a relationship with them. I don't give a crap if he hangs around female EXEs, in fact I can see him growing friendships with some of them. Like, there actually could be an interesting concept there. But no. Instead, let's have him be slobbered over. What I don't understand is, like, why isn't Sarah a part of the Council of EXEs? Like, do something like this. Over time, she just grows a relationship with Ra. She doesn't like him at first, but then they become good friends. But oh wait, the creator of Ra lacks intelligence, so, they're in a relationship. They'll make out with each other. Also, I just want to say, I really just hate their relationship together. Like, Sarah is just mean to Ra for some reason, and I know all the other EXEs are, but, like, at that point, just don't have them dating each other. Just have her be a part of the council. I guess you can consider these two art pieces to be an exception, but I don't care. I really don't care. I really should bring this up, but his human design is garbage. It's uncanny. It's gross. I don't like it. What happened to the cool hedgehog design? It sucks. It sucks! Back to this stuff, Sarah isn't the only one that he's just been hanging around that just like him for some reason. You got this girl, you got Wacky. You might say, like, oh, is there any proof of that? Yeah, I think Wacky probably likes him. I do want to mention this artwork right here. It really makes me mad, and it just feels like a slap in the face to those who, like these characters. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like it gives female exes a really bad rep, because now people are going to look at them as just objects, not actual characters, just objects, and they're just going to be like, well, these characters are just garbage and they suck. Because this idiot decided, I think it'd be a good idea to have Ra and Sarah kiss each other. You know what really makes me extremely mad? Why are Lilith's two friends here? Like, why are they here? In fact, why isn't Lilith here? There's literally artwork of her interacting with Ra, so I don't get why she isn't just simping over him. I bet their reasoning is probably, because, she had, like, 2 kids and a husband. Why are her 2 friends here? And speaking of, Sarah literally had a girlfriend at one point. Like, I don't get that. Good job, Raw creator. Nice way to drag down 2 characters and ruin their reputations. Man, I sure hope you do put Lilith and Raw in a relationship and I get to see a bunch of artwork of it, just to make me mad, and also ruin her reputation. And also, while you're at it, why not drag her 2 friends into the artwork, just kissing and making out with him? It honestly just makes me really sad seeing that this is what his character has become. If you separate this stuff, he's still a really good character, but if you do keep this stuff in, yeah, he sucks now. I honestly just think he deserves way more as a character. So, yeah, that's it. This made me really sad, and, bye. Who is the best EXE? Is it Xeno? Is it Needlemouse? Is it Lord X? Is it Fatal Error? No, it's none of them. The best EXE is the unmatched, unrivaled rerun. Now, this video was actually supposed to come out in November, but I was busy doing stuff, very important stuff, so it's out now. If I was to sum up the rerun character for you, it's basically if you take, like, the base idea of Needlemouse, but basically put your own spin on it, name the character whatever you want, and then make them be based around cartoons and stuff. I honestly think it's pretty neat seeing people stretch this concept as far as they can. We've gone from Blood-Eyed Sonic to Cartoon Sonic. I've talked about this character's backstory like 2 times before in the past, I'm pretty sure, so let's just speed run through this. So, Lilith is a talented animator who worked on a Sonic cartoon. but oh no, they got overworked and died. And also, their family died too in a tragic car accident from this police report I read, which is pretty graphic and made me kind of depressed after reading it. But you see, she still gotta work on that cartoon, you gotta grind that out, no breaks, no nothing, you can't grieve your dead family. No, you gotta keep working on the cartoon. If you cry about your dead family, who cares? You gotta work on that cartoon, get over it. People die, you don't understand that or something? And that is basically it. Now, I've usually never gone into like EXE's abilities, but I'm gonna be doing it here. I'm not going to be going over all their abilities, just the ones I find the most interesting. So they have an ability where they're able to hijack TV, so you could just be chilling out watching some SpongeBob, and then you get jump scared by Sasa Wave right out of nowhere. And even worse, SpongeBob could probably be getting possessed as Patrick is dying. And that is a good transition to get into her possessing ability, where she can only possess cartoon characters. I remember this ability mentioning is that once she possesses a cartoon character, they feel as much pain as her, which sucks. Out of all the cartoon characters she could have picked, she went with Spinel for whatever reason. Which is kinda sad, like imagine getting abandoned for like several decades and then you get possessed by a woman. We'll go over one more ability, so she's able to like reflect sharp objects off her limbs. Which it can't be physically impossible to cut them off. I want to make Pasta a rerun, come on. That's all the abilities I wanted to cover. Now let's get into her multiple different forms, and oh boy, she has a lot of them. I'll just do a speed run of telling you about all of them and only cover like 3. Her true form is a rotting corpse. She has a freak show form, which I have no idea how this fits into the canon. Did she get married or something? Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. Rerun Spinel, which I also don't know how this fits into the canon. I guess she just got bored and wanted to possess Spinel. Creepshow Sonic, her rerun form, in her human form with red eyes that used to actually be blue and also not a skeleton. I think out of all the forms, I think Creepshow Sonic's the most basic. I like the smile, but as for that, it's just kinda basic. Now onto a slightly more interesting design, Rerun. I actually like this design. I like the yellow color scheme, and that's all I can say. I like this design, but I can't really explain why I do. Alright, now on to Lilith. I also like this design. What can I say I like about this design? The shoes, jacket, the pins, and that's it. And that's it for all of her designs, but there's still more to go over. Only a few things, just things I want to talk about and go over. Now this has been scrapped, I'm pretty sure, but this little guy right here was actually one of her victims who was like self-aware and stuff. So all I can say is, poor guy, I feel for him. Next interesting fact, she used to be friends with like Sarah, but I don't think they're friends anymore, unfortunately. Okay, I just gotta bring this up. I like that her character isn't entirely evil. Like, she's only going after the people she hates. She's not gonna go out of her way and just kill everything on the spot, like Sarah. Okay, final 2 things. She likes this rabbit character that's unfortunately now irrelevant. And also, she had a boss. Unfortunately, I was only able to find this on Eric's Twitter. I have no idea why this isn't on the wiki, but this is like one of her bosses. Unfortunately, she got scrapped, I think. I like to imagine that her character would have just been worst person in the world. Just, she hates her employees, she's terrible, she pushes them down staircases. She rams her car into other employees' cars and doesn't give a crap, just stuff like that. Also, I just love her face expression in this image. She just looks mildly annoyed and I love it. But as for that, that's everything. Rerun Best EXE, screw all of them. Screw Needle Mouse, screw all the other ones. She is in my top 1 and Needle Mouse is in my top 2 now. Get screwed. You just can't beat the unmatched, unrivaled Rerun. Unless you find out about her emotional instability. Maybe if you bring up her family aggressively, she'll start to cry. But no doubt, she's unmatched and too powerful. And she's also immortal too. Alright, bye. Gene X. What is this thing even supposed to be? So this is probably one of the most like fascinating EXEs out there, and for good reason. Why is that? Well, I'll be going into that, so let's talk about Gene X, whatever this thing is supposed to be. So when it comes to GNX or Jesse, which is their actual name, there isn't really much of a story to them. In fact, you kind of have to piece it together, which I actually kind of like. But the wiki does explain that she is a yandere type character, which I don't really like. I'll explain later, but basically she was like overly obsessed with her best friend and after dying decided to just trap them in Sonic Generations. Basically just a cat and mouse chase, and a bunch of the characters in the game are just puppets. So, that's kind of cool. And that's basically it. The story is just pretty simple. I will definitely be getting into like my attempt at explaining the actual story later. But let me just say, somebody finally did it. Somebody finally decided to use a modern Sonic game as a template for an X story, which, why are people so afraid of doing that? Well, I'm not gonna say they're like afraid, they're probably like more nostalgic for like the older games, but I wish more people decided to use like the modern games for horror stories. Like, you can find a way to make Sonic Colors scary. In fact, I think I'm gonna just save this for another video. Now, I do definitely dig the idea of seeing an EXE originating from Sonic Generations, but what I don't like is the fact that, well, they're a yandere, and you might think, oh, that's kinda stupid. Well, there's like a deeper reason to it. I don't even know if this is a part of their story anymore, but it feels like a copy and paste of one of Eric's other characters. Which one? Elizabeth. It feels way too similar to her story. They're both a little bit different from each other, but basically, Jenny is just Elizabeth, but if she was repurposed to be a Sonic.EXE OC. I just don't really like it all that much, but I do dig the whole Generations aspect. It's probably been changed, but I don't really know if it has been, so I can only just say, not the biggest fan of it. I do definitely dig seeing Sonic Generations be used in an X story, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Jenny being a yandere, just like another Eric character. Also, I just gotta bring this up, I love how every Eric character has died in some sort of like tragic car accident. If I had a nickel for every time an Eric Animations character died in a tragic car accident, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's surprising it's happened 3 times in a row. So I'm just gonna get into the facts before I get into like what my idea of the story is supposed to be. There's not many. There is one mentioning the whole fact of like GeneX being the one to inspire Rerun's design. I did actually think for a while that GeneX was supposed to be like an early Rerun design, but I was proven wrong. Hey, I'm the same idiot that thought Rerun and Lilith were like 2 different characters, but I was also proven wrong with that. There was another fact, but it isn't really all that important, so let's get into my whole idea of what the story of GeneX is supposed to be. So I decided to go back to this video and read the description, and there was something that really stood out to me. Even in your last moments, you couldn't love me as your own daughter. What the hell does this even mean? I don't know, but I'm gonna try to figure it out. So at first, being the moron that I am, I thought, oh, her friend got married, so, like, she was jealous about that, so after dying, decided to go hunt her entire family down. And then I realized the issues with that and decided to rethink this. So with my second attempt, I'm gonna call it, I think I'm nearly close to what the whole story of this is supposed to be. I know I might be a little bit wrong, but I'm not Matt Pat. He'd know far better than me. But he's gone. So at first, her parents were pretty happy with each other, but then eventually started getting into argument, driving them apart. And I have to guess maybe they were like really abusive to their child or like neglected them. I want to imagine her mom was in that car accident with her and she survived it. So after all of this, Jenny was fed up with her parents and wanted to kill them, so decided to probably start off with her mom or just eventually killed her dad at some point, basically trying to drive them all back together. But I'm not sure. I'm not Matt Pat. When I do read the description of this, I do get the vibe like she was maybe adopted. I'm not sure about that, but for some reason I'm starting to think maybe she got adopted. It could explain whatever this thing is supposed to be, so maybe she was like at her parents' wedding, but I think I might have the dates mixed up. And I think her mom was probably pregnant again. I'm not sure, I'm not Matt Pat, but that was my best attempt at trying to piece the story together. If this is the story, which it probably isn't, I honestly dig it far more than the yandere stuff. Just, I don't know, her family being abusive and eventually making it the reason why she wants to kill them, I just like far more than just, she's really obsessed with her best friend and killed them because, why not? Anyways, let's just finally get into her designs. Starting off with the original, I think the whole aspect of this design I like might just be the color scheme. I mean, there's other stuff I like the elongated limbs, the no legs, just there's band-aids there, and the whole thing going on in the eye area. Like, that's basically it. I think I prefer the other one with the necklace far more. But honestly, I like this design far more. It's, like, cool as hell. This is a good design. Good on you, Eric. You know how to make cool monster designs, and I definitely like this with, like, the legs just being teared up with like the bony area and blood. It's a good design. There's only like 2 more. They're only on paper though. I like this thing, and she looks kind of cool when she was alive, I guess. Though I gotta ask, what is this dude's obsession with tall women? I just realized she's probably the same height as Lilith. Like, what's going on, bro? And that's basically everything. I feel like there was like a lot of stuff I missed for some reason. Like, overall, I think this is like a cool EXE, except if you take out like the yandere stuff. Not the biggest fan of that, but I kind of like them. They could probably go on my list of like EXEs or something. I did forget to bring up the Chaos Emeralds, which I think there's some sort of like source of power or like some sort of metaphor or something, but good on you for adding Chaos Emeralds into an EXE story. A lot of people would be afraid to do that. Anyways, I'm gonna end this because I feel like this is getting pretty long. It's like the same length as the Raw video I did, so bye everyone. I'll see you in the next video.
To be fair, Morty, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. Morty.
So this video is officially outdated. So around 1 month ago, I made a video on Paralyzed Sonic, and now it is outdated. So this will be my first ever update video telling you about the new stuff about an EXE. I kind of felt like I had to make this video. Not really, I didn't have to, but I wanted to. Like, that original video, I guess, does give you a good basis of what I think of this character, but I think it was about time I get around to this, because I kept forgetting, so this probably won't be that long of a video, so let's jump into it.
So open the blinds and maybe we're gonna see some stars out today.
So last time on Dragon Ball Z, when I was talking about the story of Gene X Jesse, I basically just made a crappy fanfiction because there was zero to no info of like what the heck was going on. And well, now there is info out there, and I will explain it to you. It's actually pretty simple and straightforward. Basically, Jesse's mom got pregnant and was forced to marry her boyfriend, and then they had a kid, and you would think their family was all good and all that, but no. There were constant fights. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off and say it, but Jesse's mom was a complete ass to her, just complete utter bitch mode, I guess. Kind of can't believe I just said this, but anyways, her dad just eventually left them. But let's be honest, he'll probably be back. He's just gonna go get some milk, because that's usually what grown men do when they're mad at their family. He doesn't return. A several-year time skip, I guess, and Jesse now met this person named Clay, and Clay is actually really nice to them, and you'd probably guess Jess becomes really attached to them, and I mean, I would too, honestly, if my fucking dad abandoned me to go get milk. And so Jesse and Clay are like huge fans of the Sonic series, or became big fans of the series, which I sort of thought Jesse had genuinely no clue what Sonic was and was just like, alright, I'm just gonna possess this guy. Like, I sure thought it was something like this. So she associated her best moments with the franchise and was the first ever person to get a copy of Generations with Clay. Oh, but, car accident. So then there is a funeral, and Jess's mom gets the copy of Generations Jesse got. I wonder what will happen next. And then we get into Family Jewels, where Jesse's mom gets tormented by this hellspawn, and then she dies. I really don't have a lot to say about it. Nice animatic, or animation. So then we get into this video that I forgot the name of. For some reason, when going into this video, I thought this girl was Jessie, but their name is Sophie, and I sure thought this thing was like, oh, PTSD demon, but it's literally just Jessie, so I have no clue what I was even thinking about. So anyways, this random girl gets dragged into Generations in the vessel of Espio, which I find really funny because out of any character Eric could have picked, he picked Espio because he isn't too relevant to Sonic, which I just find to be really interesting. I don't know, the philosophy of that. I don't even know if you can call it a philosophy, I just find it really interesting. He could have picked Cream, like she's not really in many Sonic games. Well, except for Dream Team recently. Or there was the option of Mighty the Armadillo, but oh wait a second, he's not in Generations. Damn you, Sega. Meanwhile, this guy saw her just like flying as a shooting star. So finally we make it to the point where Clay, yes his name is Clay, this is Clay right here, decides to confront Jesse. But she's like, nah, screw you, and consumes the time meter. Or time eater. You know a villain is bad if you start forgetting the name of them. And that is basically it for right now. There's not much else to the story. Overall, it's kinda interesting. That's really all I could say. So, let's move on now, I guess.
Oh no, Quagmire's dead!
Jessie seems to love Clay so much that she will literally have, like, the characters and Generations just check up on the guy. She won't even hurt him. This is actually kind of interesting for a Yandere character to do. And I'll be honest, I'm still, like, refusing to accept that she might be a Yandere because my brain is stupid, but yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. I already brought this up, but she, like, is able to consume the time meter. Wow, this guy sucks so much, I can't even remember his own name. You probably would be wondering, wait, why wouldn't she take the form of the Time Eater? Well, I don't know, because she just didn't wanna. So, yeah, that's it. And I finally got the name correct. So one more thing to bring up, if you were to like fight Jesse, you literally would just get this screen. It sounds like a really interesting idea for like a boss fight, like for a Generations mod, which don't worry, I'll get into that like right now.
I can't beat the shit out of you without getting closer.
So that is everything about this Eldritch Abomination that's come out recently. who knows what she's doing right now? She's probably burning down a gas station, which is something I feel like she would probably do. I guess as the month has passed, she's now an A tier character for me. Not S, but A. So, I'm just realizing that the Sonic Generations modding community could really do a lot with this character. I thought of the idea of you being able to race against her, like an entire mod where you race against her in a bunch of the different generation stages. Like, Generations already has missions in the game, so that could happen. And maybe like a cool boss fight mod or something, or an entire game. If that ever happens, I'd be probably interested in such a thing. So, yeah, it's basically it for me, and more update videos in the future, I guess. Bye. Kamima Mizuki Dadoof. I bet you have no idea on who this EXE is even supposed to be, and I don't blame you if that's the case. They are a kind of obscure EXE that I don't see anybody talk about. I always saw them in a lot of fan art with other EXEs. I miss the old days of this community. I wish we could just go back and relive it again. I've always kinda thought about making a video on this character, but I never had the chance to do it. This was because the wiki page for Mizuki was completely wiped from existence. However, the Wayback Machine exists. So consider this video an archive for Kamima Mizuki Dadoof. If you were thinking this character is completely dead, luckily enough they still exist, but they're a lot different now. So I'm here to cover the old iteration of this character and its lore. So without wasting much time, let's get into it. The story goes as follows. Mizuki was a very smart and talented individual, part of her family, and they would be there to help her no matter what. However, eventually her family starts to fall apart. Her dad gets exposed for not really being that good of a guy. He's done some pretty bad stuff, drug-related or women-related. Her mom decides to file for a divorce because who would want to be with a scumbag like that? Mizuki is unable to handle all of this, and she starts to change as a person. She no longer is social to those around her. Now she's cold and quiet. And for whatever reason, her dad's charges get dropped against him. A few months go by and Mizuki is gonna go on a bit of a vacation, but a few classmates that have a grudge against her, just because of her dad, she gets killed in a fucking park in front of a bunch of people. It only escalates more from here. A monster shows up and kills everybody with an explosion, leaving a bloody mask of corpses. Luckily enough, Mizuki is the only one to survive this. For whatever reason, this monster decided to revive her, and they decided to put something inside of Mizuki's chest. Now she has powers that no human would ever have, and due to being revived, Mizuki wants to observe other worlds and explore them. Luckily for her, she won't be alone while she does this. And that is the end of the story. I think it's kinda decent and a little interesting at the same time. It does share elements of other EXE stories out there, but in its own way, it's kinda unique. If there's one thing I respect about this story, is that it has balls. Its main character gets killed in front of a bunch of people, and then everyone else around them dies. And keep in mind, the thing that does this looks like this. Oh, and that's another thing too. Why does this thing specifically revive Mizuki? This story is unhinged as fuck, but I respect it for that. I almost wish it would be continued because there's a decent amount of potential here, but unfortunately it never did get continued, so that's where this segment has to come to an end. There are a few neat things that are worth bringing up, so I'm gonna do that. There are two important characters a part of Mizuki's story. This is Pod ISO. He's supposed to be an alternate take on Lord X, but he doesn't even look like Lord X, so why is he even a retake of the character? But that's just what I was able to get. Nonetheless, I really like his design. It looks like an alien that decided to take the form of Sonic the Hedgehog, or wear his body as a skin suit. He does have a somewhat normal form, but you can tell it's a little off. And the second important character is her boss, and I'm not really sure if this even is supposed to be her boss. I don't even know the name of this character. If I'm wrong about this, I am dearly sorry. What her role in the story is supposed to be, I don't know. Time for some miscellaneous stuff. It is possible for Mizuki to take damage. I mean, take a look at this, she has battle scars on her. So punching her in the ribcage 8 times in a row won't do anything. Mizuki can kinda change her appearance if it's something subtle or physically. Now I want to bring up one of my favorite aspects to this character, the orbs. The orbs are able to give somebody power, but you can only have a few powers at a time. Depending on what you would want, you either get 1 or 2 orbs, or maybe even a few more. These could be related to Sonic, Sega, or random games out there. I should note that this somewhat relates to entities, but that's how the orbs work. And with that, that's everything I wanted to bring up. Now let's get into our design. Mizuki has two forms, her hedgehog form and her human form. Let's get into her hedgehog form first. I like it, even for how simple it is. It goes for an all-black color scheme, the spikes are a little different, and it comes with a cape. There's a version of this without the cape, but it just doesn't feel right without it. And finally, her human form. I think it's solid. I like the brown/blonde hair she goes for, and I also like the outfit and boots, and that's everything I could say about it. This is where our journey with Kamiyama Mizuki comes to an end. An obscure EXE that nobody really talks about. I miss this character, and I miss these stupid comics. Lilith crashing out over somebody not being blonde will always bring back good memories. Hopefully I've been able to inform you about the old version of Mizuki. They're still around, but they're a lot different. All I'm gonna say left is goodbye, old Mizuki. I really miss ya. Well, goodbye everyone. Thanks for watching. Well, I'm starting off this video a lot more seriously than usual. It just wouldn't feel right if I didn't bring this up. But a few years ago, the creator of Glitchhog, J-Dun, took their own life. I did not know J-Dun personally, but I can tell there were people out there that cared about him, so it was unfortunate to see this person that people had a connection to just do this. I want to be as respectable to J-Dun and their work, and I'd recommend you be respectable too. With all that out of the way, let's get into the video. Imagine you bought a Sonic plushie, and then after you did that, an insane man killed you. Now you are trapped in the void for 10 years straight, and you want to get revenge. After all, you were killed by Hobo Joe's brother down the road. You have to do something about it. But what if you were clinically insane? What if you wanted to mentally scar children for life? I introduced to you Glitchhog, a vengeful spirit that resides inside of Sonic 2 and Sonic.EXE. Knuckles is also there for some reason. I guess he didn't want to be left out. Glitchhog is one of those forgotten EXEs that nobody really talks about or even remembers. One day I randomly stumbled upon them because of fan art. I still miss this type of stuff. It's a little unfortunate because Glitchhog has a somewhat appealing design. I do personally think you shouldn't rely on that, but it does stand out. It's heavily based off the old Sonic cartoons, which is kinda neat. So without wasting any of your time, let's get into Glitchhog. The story goes as follows. Emma used to be a human before she got killed by her assassin. Now she resides inside of Sonic 2 and Sonic.EXE. This is a part of one singular disc. She now wants to get back at her assassin for doing this to her. Now here's the more complicated version of this story with extra steps. You might ask me, why did I not bring up this version instead? Because I don't really want to go through it. They do mention that she had a boss, even knowing she looks like this. This eventually started to give her a bunch of trauma. Her family despises her. A few days later, she buys a Sonic plushie and gets killed, and then she ends up in the void for 10 years straight. That's really all the story has to offer. I can tell it's very unfinished, but that's all you get out of it. One detail that does grab me with the story is the mention of more assassins, and Glitchhog wants to kill a bunch of them. That's actually kinda interesting. You know, kinda like what Batman would do. The opposite though. Who knows how the cancelled analog horror series would have done this though, but that's all for the story, so let's move on. Glitchhog is able to take on the appearance of other Sonic characters like Tails, Eggman, and Knuckles for whatever reason. Why is he even here? It's not a brand new idea I've seen before, but it is neat to me. It reminds me of the guy from Post Shift 2 and fucking Sparky Marky. Glitchhog is gender neutral, so they could either be a boy or a girl. This is due to her taking over Sonic's body. If Glitchhog crawls out of their disc, you're gonna be mentally scarred for life. Real detail, by the way. Glitchhog is absurdly strong to the point where they can take on 100 EXEs. That's right, Rerun, you're no longer the most overly powerful character anymore. Take that. If you took one look at Glitchhog and thought, hey, this reminds me of the Pivy glitch, that's because they're connected to it. That is all. Well, design. It's pretty simple, but that's not a bad thing. It's a corrupted, glitchy version of Sonic, and it's actually kinda creepy. What helps with that is the mouth and eyes, which makes it kinda menacing. And then we have the human form. It's pretty basic and not all that interesting, to be honest with you. I will give it this though. Going for a more simplistic design, unlike this, works better. She does have a pretty good disguise form though. This was a pretty straightforward summary, and I'm kinda sorry for that. I don't like that I have to say this, but the concept and design are the only thing that Glitchhog had going for them. If the story did get properly finished, I could see this character have more of a fan base. However, that didn't happen. Glitchhog has a solid design and some cool concepts, and we should be grateful for what we got out of it. I made this video so people don't forget about Glitchhog. I don't want this thing to be completely forgotten about, even if it wasn't finished. This thing brings back a few good memories for me, so let's let them cherish on. I do hope you were still able to get something out of this, so with that, I'll see you guys next time and bye. There have been hundreds, maybe even thousands of EXEs that have been made, and some of them go completely unknown, or not remembered. So I must ask you, fellow viewer, have you ever heard of Haley Blake before? No? Well, I'm about to explain who she is. Haley is a very obscure EXE that a lot of people do not know about. You might have seen her in a few pieces of fan art hanging out alongside other EXEs, like I'm an alcoholic and I have depression. There's even an entire animation where she's hanging out with her buds, and she fucking dies for some reason. Wow guys, you are such good friends, letting your friend just lay there as they potentially die from, who knows what. I ain't no expert when it comes to dancing, but I gotta say, these are the cringiest dance moves I've ever seen. SpongeBob's got some better moves than you guys as lame asses. Okay, SH, we fucking get it, shut up, just get to the point. The creator of Haley, who went by Stinky Winky, deleted their Twitter account sometime in 2021 or 2022, I don't remember. And when they decided to depart, they left behind a Google Doc. And would you be surprised to find out that Haley isn't some vengeful ghost that's out for blood and is trying to get back at the ones that wronged her? No, she's just a normal human girl, from what it seems, with a few issues here and there. I am guessing that at some point in time she would have died. After all, she does have a hedgehog form. There was plans in there to have Haley be evil, but then also this other character named Blue also would have been evil. I do not have any art or renders of this character on me, because keep in mind, the creator deleted their Twitter. If Haley's character did get finished, I could see myself like them to an extent. They definitely wouldn't have become my favorite EXE of all time, but I still would have liked them. Haley is actually somewhat relatable as a character. Haley has problems, and she tries to hide them from the world. I like this a lot. It's something different. She's not another stereotypical vengeful EXE, and she's not this crazed murderer. And I actually like these two, so I'm surprised to hear this coming from my own mouth. To give my quick thoughts on her human form and hedgehog form, Haley's human form is, kinda pretty. This is not me, like, simping, I'm just being honest. That's the best way I can put it. And then there's the hedgehog form. It looks cool. I like it. You might ask, wait, didn't you say that the creator deleted their Twitter? How did you get this? Well, I got it from my least favorite website of all time, Pinterest. To this day, this re-uploaded piece of art still remains on the website. The fucking asshole who re-uploaded this couldn't even credit Stinky Winky. It was some random stranger in the comments who did it. And don't try to say, well, what if they didn't know? How? How did they get this artwork then? But I do have a dark secret to reveal to all of you. I stole this character when I was 14 to 13 years old and did not credit the creator. One day, I found out that there was another version of Haley being made by the creator of, well, Rerun, and I was just like, wow, this is cool. I'm going to steal this character and use them in my shitty series. Then I found the Pinterest post and stole Haley for myself. Stinky Winky eventually found out about this, and so I decided to reach out to them and clear this up, and I learned to never steal people's characters ever again and give credit. Even with that, I miss Haley, and they mean a lot to me. They represent a side of the X community that I miss. It was just more united back then, and now it's been split apart. Certain creators in the community don't interact with other creators as much as they used to, and it just feels so isolated and lonely. I do have one more secret to reveal to all of you. Stinky Winky might have came back sometime in November. I do not feel comfortable showing you this account, and I do not want you to go out and bother them because of this. If they do see this video, I just want to say, hi, I hope you're doing well in life. A part of me wishes this character would come back, but some things just have to come to an end, so new beginnings can arise. I'm still waiting for the day to come where we'll learn more about this new version of Haley, and get proper renders of what she looks like. So, that's it. I'm heading out now.
While I know some of you were very excited to see some Haley art here, that's not the case. Sorry for deceiving you all. This way, but this is serious, and despite how many times I've expressed my discomfort towards the X community, I've come to accept and my boundaries were never regarded. I have noticed recently and many people I am not connected with have been taking my creations and giving them a twist beyond what I originally had planned for these X's/OCs. I know how extensive X can be and how many popular Exes can get silly little headcanons. All these actions are part of a fandom. I do this all the time with any amphibia character or any other show I have a current interest in. However, Haley, it's been a private ex of mine for more than a year, and due to that, I can't feel any comfort by how people act like they have the right to give her a different purpose on her and Blue's story. I'm not mad. In fact, when Haley became a thing, I was happy to see how much positivity she had as a creation of mine. It's always a sweet thing to see how something a small account made became so big people would recognize it, even if said thing never had a somewhat future through the owner's eyes. These creations of mine have a deep meaning for me, and I love them all equally because it made others smile at some point too, the same as it made me smile and make so many connections with others through them. There are things I wish I knew earlier about the X community, but as someone who's been here since 2021, I think it's fair to say, and none of us predicted what was going on next in this small place I once called my comfort zone. Blue was my main creation, and while I still post about him here and there alongside DNA, it's because I feel like they're more presentable than Haley. Her story goes a bit deeper than others, so of course that meant and I had to keep her in the shadows as much as I could. But now that I've almost given up on continuing anything X-related, I can at least give you an explanation. Haley is a love letter to my femininity, a love letter to the body I was born with yet never felt I was able to achieve its standards. I've been gender fluid for 2 years, and eventually found out I was leaning more to mask, so in general, I'm transgender, and proud of being so. Haley being transfemme is also as important in general as how it is for me to find my identity, because while it's a rough thing to explain, gender dysphoria is something we all trans folks struggle with yet can't fully get rid of, and it's never wrong to spread awareness about it. Of course, being trans is not all negativeness. For oneself, gender euphoria can always be present through other people supporting you and complimenting your ways through transition. Need to add, and while I'm mask, I still love being feminine one way or another. Clothes never had a gender to start with, honestly, but I do not identify as a woman. Haley means a lot to me, and I adore her as her creator, and so I loved seeing others liking her. But another reason as of why I've kept her out of any social media of mine is because I can't sadly ignore what happened in here, and I think it's not necessary to explain why. My opinions on those who are not around anymore will stay private. That's all you're getting. With that being said, what were your plans for Haley's future story, and what's her canon characterization? Haley was never some villain in the story. At some point I did want that to be the truth, but no. The villain in Haley/Blue's story is Blue himself. Haley is a complex character, as she self-sabotages herself beyond and continuously acts as if she does not care for others but her and only her. She can be sweet and charismatic as a character, yet through the process of the story, she adapts more to hide those true emotions and characteristics in order to keep her life private and out of everyone else's business. So please stop tagging her as some big mean woman. She's not. Completing Haley and Blue's story is still on the table. However, it will most likely never happen as I have other things to attend to, and like I said, Haley is still staying as private as I can when it comes to her story. Artwise and interactions, that's whatever. Honestly, you can do whatever you want at this point. Haley and Blue can still go under the tag of X, however, they feel more like OCs than what they were meant to be at the start of everything. Don't ask me more things about her or any other X unless there's a change of mind someday. Final statement. Being honest, these things can't be all predicted or stopped. Many people will keep asking about characters' whereabouts despite the creator trying their best to avoid any discourse, so I thought that making a possible last statement would clear some things out, at least from my own POV, and also hoping my wonky-ass English didn't get in the middle of understanding my point. From now on, Haley is all free or whatever, and while I can't agree with the mischaracterization and usage of my exes, I am also fully aware that I cannot stop it, and that's okay. X means a lot to me still, however I can't say and I love it as much as I used to. but the memories, both good and bad, will always stay, and I am indefinitely grateful for them. Thank you all for being part of that small journey of mine. I still love you, and please take care of yourselves and those you love. Platonic.
Growing up is quite the experience. It could be good, it could be bad, maybe it could be both. No matter how you feel about growing up, there's probably been a time in your life where you like to look back sometimes, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes I like to look back at my own life and see how far I've come. But sometimes people don't want to grow up, they would rather live in the past when it was easier on them. So I introduce you to Wistful. Wistful is a spirit-based EXE, but unlike certain spirit-based EXEs, Wistful is a lot different. She isn't this vengeful spirit out to get revenge on those that killed her, and she's too far gone to the point that she believes she's this untouchable god that can't be stopped, which is something I genuinely love about human EXEs. Wistful is a very tragic and sad character, and I genuinely like this character and their concepts. She adds a pretty nice twist upon the human X formula instead of just being another vengeful ghost. She reminds me a lot of Rerun, and man, I fucking love Rerun. This won't be the last time I bring up this yellow piss stain, and you'll see why. So let's finally talk about Wistful, because she's really interesting. So, our story starts off with Wistful being a 22-year-old adult, and for the first 5 years of her life, it's been pretty hard on her and she just can't handle it. Sometimes she likes to look back at the earlier days of her life, when she was with her brother playing Sonic Mega Collection, and then she decides to fucking kill herself with a rope. So after dying, she ends up in Sonic Mega Collection, and now she doesn't have to worry about adulthood. She is free like the wind now, but no she isn't, because later on this is gonna come back to bite her. Now she is haunted by the atrocity that she's done to herself. And that is the story. I think it's pretty good. I think you'd be a fool to sleep on this concept. There's a lot more you could do with it. I do love this idea of her living in Fantasyland and finding it too hard to just face reality, and she lets herself be taken over by delusion. I don't know if that's the word I would necessarily use, but close enough. It's a concept I haven't seen done yet with a human EXE, and I think it works very well. She isn't this false god that acts like she's the highest thing out there, and she isn't going out of her way to commit atrocities because she needs to. Well, she kinda does. That's all I have to say about the story. It has a pretty good concept going for it. So there's a few extra little things to mention with the character of Wistful. I'm only gonna mention the most important things you need to know. She likes to go on good old adventures with Tails and Knuckles, which is a pretty good way to avoid the dark shit that is to come. This is something I just realized. Are they aware that this is not Sonic, or do they think she's Sonic? Well, who cares about that, cause once she's put into an enraged state where she can't control herself, she'll just kill them. And this is because the characters inside of the game will become aware of this, and she doesn't want them to be aware of how unstable she is. My guy can't catch a break even if he hasn't done anything wrong. It's a pretty neat piece of world building if you want to call it that. So now we'll finally move into her design. We have 3 different forms to get through, starting off with the first one. It looks pretty nice. It's like if Rerun actually had drip. The color scheming kinda blends well together, and I guess it does a decent job representing the idea of nostalgia with her story. It's also cartoony, which I'm kind of a sucker for. The shoes are also pretty cool. Next we have her second form, probably my favorite out of all of them. She's a lot more tired and her body is slightly more elongated, especially with the shoes. I definitely think it strikes out a lot more than the first design. And now we make it to the last one. Not my favorite, but I still like it. Going for a black and white aesthetic is kinda genius. And there's a neat little detail of one of her shoes being untied. I kinda love the dumb little face expressions this thing has. It looks great. And there's a little blood on her neck. I wonder where that's from. And those are all the designs. So that is Wistful. Very cool and interesting character. I genuinely dig the design and premise that this character goes for, and I'd love to see more of it in the future. It's nice to see a human EXE break the norm of how they usually work. I love the idea of a human that thinks they're a god, but it's always nice to change it up sometimes. Wistful is a pretty neat EXE, and that's all I'm gonna say about that, and I'll see you guys next time and bye. So, Wacky. Now, I want to say before we get into this, now this character has a wiki page. They definitely have a wiki page like any other EXE. But what's weird about it is that there's barely any info on it. There's not even like a reference image of the character. All you're gonna find is like a few details and that's it. There's really nothing on Wacky's wiki page. Maybe it will get updated later, but there's just not really anything there. The only thing I can go off of with Wacky's character are like 4 different bios. Now I would go over Wacky's like backstory, but they don't really have one. The basic gist of their character is that they're a bootleg Sonic, and they were like left behind by their creator, and they were left to like build upon their world, I guess. All around, I think the concept of Wacky having to like build upon their world with like her friends is pretty interesting. This is only the first bio. The second one basically just explains that, oh, Wacky and her friends got like new designs because they got sucked into like a copy of Sonic Mania. Well, an unfinished copy. Bio 3 gives us a bit of info on Bizarro. Basically, this like black sludge jumped into Wacky's eyes, which is honestly pretty sad. Imagine having like a demon inside of your eyes, and if you try to open them, you're screwed. Not gonna lie, this whole keeping eyes closed thing kind of reminds me of a certain character. I just can't put my finger on who it is. So finally, we made it to the final bio with the demon themselves, Bizarro. Bizarro is trying to exact revenge on their creator, but their creator is just, they're gone. They don't even realize that. So they're just using like Wacky as a vessel. I like how in the description of this, like Wacky and Bizarro are just frenemies. I love to imagine their relationship just goes like, yeah, I'll work with you when I feel like it, Wacky. I think that's just hilarious. So let's talk about Wacky's design. Now, we have like the classic one, but I don't have much to say about it. It's fine. I like this design a little bit more, to be honest. She has these ridiculously long shoes, and I like the light purple that they go for. This is supposed to be a hedgehog, but to be honest, the more I look at it, it looks more like a wolf to me. Just being brutally honest. I guess I can put Bizarro in here. I like the slight details on them with like, it seems like they have like scratches on them. All around, I like both of their designs. Bizarro straight up just looks like a demon from the underworld, and Wacky just looks normal. So that says a lot. All around, pretty interesting EXE. They don't really feel like one, but they are one apparently. I like some of the ideas at hand with this character, and I like how Bizarro is just her frenemy, I guess. Honestly, pretty hilarious and even a little bit wacky, I can say. Alright, I'm just gonna end the video. Thanks for watching and bye. I just walked out of the local Walmart and found a lost small child, which most likely might be 5 years old. What are you doing out here, lost child? Oh, you are 25 years old. I'm sorry about that. You are small, though. Catherine, the gamer girl, must be protected at all cost. If you dare put your hands on Catherine, the gamer girl, I will come to your house and find you immediately. Catherine is an interesting type of EXE character. She's a fan add-on to another EXE character, being Xenophant, not the sexy version, the unsexy version. A character that I bet all of you are familiar with. I'll say it now, I like Catherine, but she is a pretty piss-simple character, which I think is fine. I do like the simple concept of her just being Xeno's friend slash companion, helping him out when he needs to murder people. There definitely are a few neat things to point out, which I definitely will point out, so we're just gonna get into it now. Let's get into our gamer girl. So the story is really simple to follow. Catherine was born into the world with something special. Actually, not really. She has a power that needs to be perfected, but she struggles at this, being like, nah, don't worry about it, guys. My eye might be bleeding, but who cares? But her sister and mom are there to be supportive, and she gets into Sonic because of course. And well, Sonic is a hero to her, and so eventually, time passes and she meets Xenophant. She gets into a brawl with the guy, and Xenophant is quite impressed with her power, so they just kind of become buddies. They start working together as one complete unit, and her sister has realized that her sister has gone missing and gets help from her new friend Mabel Jenkins, which is a pretty great name, but I'm not sure who Mabel Jenkins is. What I mean is that I don't know if he has an actual design. I found out that there were more Catherine characters in the Catherine universe, so I'm not really sure who is who. And that is really it. Catherine is now just chilling out in Sonic Adventure 2 with her bro. There are a few tiny things that sorta add to the story, her finding comfort in gaming and being a coder that made a mod of Sonic CD DLC where you can play as her. She puts on this fake persona trying to learn victims with this fake backstory, and the funny thing is that Catherine is actually a nice person, but she decides to go around and steal souls because it's fun. You know, I can definitely relate to that. Really, the only thing I could say I like about the story is the Xeno Catherine stuff. It's kinda intriguing. I guess it will be interesting to see how it changes and evolves over time. So now we'll move into more interesting territory. I'm usually not a big ability talker, but it's really the only thing I can talk about. I mean, if you like to hear about Catherine being into tabletop games and collecting dice, there you go. And some of the abilities that her character has actually could work well for a Catherine game. I've heard that the creator actually does want to make a game related to her character, and I'd be all for it. I'd probably play it. Maybe not, but maybe I would. And the Catherine universe does have various different characters, so you probably could do something with any one of them. I'm guessing the game would go for a survival puzzle element, knowing the fact that you're looking for your sister. Or you could be playing as one of Xeno's various victims and you want to escape his world. And knowing her various different abilities that she has, they could probably work well into the gameplay. I'd love to be able to play as Catherine, but having the victim be there too could make it interesting. Catherine can do stuff like physically drag you to the ground, taking you to various different areas that you wouldn't expect, being able to mess up your vision, having a blaster that she could use, moving objects around that could physically damage her. This type of stuff definitely could build well into a Catherine game. And I did pitch the idea of there being 2 playable characters, but there's so many other Catherine characters that you probably got to explore. I just have so many ideas cooking up in my head. There's also like the story, of course. I've already explained it to you, but there are some things that definitely could be fleshed out. The relationship with Xeno, her struggles to use her powers. I've never really seen an EXE story have a EXE appreciate their victim and what they're able to do. Like, I would love to see that be explored. There's a few things that a Catherine game would be able to do, but even if there wasn't a game, there's probably other ways you could explore the character. I didn't really expect to go on a tangent talking about this, but it's really the only thing I was able to talk about. So now I'm gonna move into the design now. So Catherine has 4 different forms, and starting off with the first one, it's probably my favorite out of, well, this one too. Fun fact I forgot to mention, Catherine is able to alter her height, which explains why she looks like she's 5. Honestly, she kinda does look like she could have been Sonic's sidekick, which I also failed to bring this up. I'm gonna guess that this is what her old backstory was gonna be, but I do actually kinda like the idea a little bit, even if it probably wouldn't work all that well. I can kinda believe that Sonic would have had a human sidekick. He did have a human girlfriend at one point. I guess what makes this design stand out has to just be the outfit choice, just a long shirt with white and green on it, and also her big head too. And then we have her second form. I don't really like it. I feel it's too goofy. I understand what it was trying to go for, but it's just too silly to me. Her Malachite form. I really like this one. She's a tiny bit more menacing now. Not too much, but a little bit. The big standout here would have to be with the horns, but I also like the addition of her clothes being more darkened. And they're also a tiny bit ripped up too. And now we have her design where she's an adult now. I was mixed on it, but I actually don't think this is all that bad. She even has new shoes, which are kinda nice. And those are all of Catherine's designs. So that is Catherine the Gamer Girl. She's kinda piss simple, but I do like her, and I'm glad I finally covered her character. It took me too long. So, I'll see you gamers around, and keep on gaming like the Gamer Girl. So, on the interwebs, I've been seeing some Discord about this character named, well, I'm not gonna say it, but I'm just gonna call them Grim for short. So, I was having a back and forth with myself if I was even going to make this video, but here I am. I want to talk about this character, and let me just say, I'm not trying to, be mean to the creator. I know they said that they didn't really, do the best job executing this character, but I still want to criticize the character in itself. So, I'll try to be as fair as possible. The format of this video is a bit different from my other EXE videos where I talk about characters. I'm just talking about their concept, criticizing it, and just going about the issues I have with it. I guess I'll give my slight thoughts on the design. It's alright, kinda basic. They have different other forms, but I'm not gonna get into them because they're kinda strange, so let's just get right into this. So Grim is an EXE that's supposed to be an extreme version of female EXEs, and here comes all my problems with the character in itself. I honestly just don't understand the whole joke of this character. Who is this joke making fun of? Simps, the characters in themselves? I don't know. I physically do not know. For being a joke character, I feel like it takes itself way too seriously. Why does this character have so much info on them? Like, they have way too much info for a joke character. Let me just explain some of the info of this character for you. So, this character could physically full on have emotions. You can actually get into, like, intercourse with them if you want to. Can't believe I had to say that. If you're on one of those, like, mature websites, you'll get a pop-up and then get sucked inside of their world or whatever it is. And also, they could be, like, whatever you want. Oh, and I can't forget that they can physically eat whatever they want, like a car. Yeah, go right ahead, that's fine. I honestly find it to overall just be taken way too seriously for a joke character, because at that point, it just doesn't feel like a joke character anymore. It's just taken too seriously, and let me just say that a character like this could work as a funny little haha laugh, but to be honest, I just don't find any aspect to them funny. If they just had a small wiki summary on their wiki and were just used for like memes, then I guess I wouldn't have a big problem with this, but cause are you telling me that I'm supposed to laugh at the aspect of her like forcing herself onto her victims to be funny? Because I don't find it funny, and I feel like if you know the word, it just kind of feels like the thing I'm not gonna say. And also, I do gotta ask, this is sort of targeted to the creator and I guess the community, but do you really think that Sarah falls into this category? Do you really think that Lilith falls into this category? Do you really think that Haley Blake falls into this category? Do you really think that, like, Mizuki falls into this category? Do you really think that Glitchhog falls into this category? I can keep going. Even Gene X. Because as we know, when Lilith comes out of TVs, she instantly wants to smash. That's definitely accurate, and I'm not lying. So, like, this character could work, but it's just taken too seriously. If aspects were toned down, then I guess they could be funny, but it's just doesn't feel like they even understand their own joke as a character, and it's just like, I just don't know who would find the character and their concept to be all that interesting, because it's just kinda weird, and I'd almost say kinda gross. Again, I'm not trying to, like, slam the creator down, but I just don't really like these aspects to the character. To me, the character just feels like, hey, I don't understand how a female EXE works. So, yeah, I'm just gonna end it here, so, yeah, I'm done. Bye.
I'm so fucking scared right now!
So hey, I bet you know what Sonic.exe is supposed to be. You also probably know what this thing is too. What would happen if you tried merging both of these together? This is what you get out of it. An EXE based around this random Sonic balloon from the 90s. The story behind this thing is not meant to be taken seriously in the slightest, even if I think the story is too serious for a joke, but even then, I'm fucking scared by this thing. The idea behind it isn't the greatest thing in the world. However, I don't know, there's just something about it that just gets my skin crawling. Reading through the story put a sense of dread inside of me. Of course, the thing looks stupid, however, I'll get into why. So let's talk about the story. There isn't actually really much of a story to begin with. It is the Thanksgiving Day parade of that year, and Sonic the Hedgehog is lining up for his first ever appearance. However, the people running the float are not having the best time with it. Due to the weather not being the best, eventually it pops. But then, Sonic re-emerges with a brand new head. Here's some audio to accompany how that situation went. I'm smiling right now, but this did kinda scare the shit out of me. This heroic police officer saves the life of this beautiful child right here. Probably one of the best EXE protagonists of all time. Sonic will never hurt a soul ever again, and then people started speculating about this incident. That's the end of the story. Yeah, I know it sounds stupid. I'm not even like playing around. It is stupid. This thing is not scary, but there's something here that does scare me. I guess it has to do with a few factors of the story. There is no explanation behind this or how it even happened. If this thing physically has any conscience behind it or anything else. It randomly just shows up and everybody gets scared by it, and I think that's why I'm scared by it too. It sort of plays into the fear of the unknown, and that's really it, to be honest with you. It's not this creative masterwork that should be passed on for generations, and it does kinda suck that the story not meant to be serious kinda does feel serious and maybe should be serious. And for the concept being silly, it could kinda work, maybe, but that is what happens when you merge a tragic incident together and Sonic.exe.
I'm so fucking scared right now!
Imagine waking up in a world that is completely unfamiliar, and yet you know what this place is supposed to be. You recognize it, and your mind and body feels completely different. Did you die? Are you in purgatory? Well, none of that. You are Sonic the Hedgehog. This is your life now. you're gonna have to adapt to your new living conditions and understand who you are, what you do, and figure everything out as you go along. Sonic SNE is one of the coolest EXEs that I've ever stumbled upon, and I was looking forward to making this video. I'm excited. As this video goes along, I'm gonna call this guy Adventure X for short, so I don't have to keep saying SNE because it gives me a stroke. This guy has a really interesting concept for an EXE story that I haven't really seen before, and it sucks just how underrated this guy is. I was just scrolling around the partially dead Sonic Oddities wiki, and I found this guy, and after reading his story, I fell in love with him. He sort of falls into the category of being a human EXE, and dude, I fucking love those type of EXEs. He would definitely be in my top 3, right next to Purple Bitch and Blonde Sarah. I'm mainly gonna be going over Adventure X's story, but at some point I will go into his design. So with that, let's get into it. Our story begins with an individual called Harlan. Harlan works for Sega, and they've been treated pretty poorly by the people they work with. And so, they take their own life. Eventually, Sonic R comes out, and they don't get credited for their work. Sega is very aware of this, and now they're trying to hide this person. Then, Sonic Adventure comes out, and there are a lot of problems with the game. When playing it, you have this uneasy experience. The game is a complete buggy mess, and let's just say that the game just doesn't feel right. There was a planned sequel to Sonic Adventure. Unfortunately, the game got taken off store shelves. This is when Sega had to do a lot of damage control for the Sonic series, and eventually Sonic got back on his feet. This is when the story goes back to Harlan. After being in a very long slumber, he finds himself in the body of Sonic the Hedgehog. He is most definitely freaked out by this, and now he has to adapt. He has to act like he knows this world, its characters. He has to pretend to be Sonic, speak like him, act like him. It's not easy. It's basically a living hell for Harlan, but eventually he gets used to it. One day, Sonic and Tails are off on an adventure to go stop Eggman's evil plan, but Eggman has the master plan. Eggman do the master plan. Eggman shoots down Sonic and Tails dies because of this. Sonic is devastated, and the only thing he can do left is lash out.
You killed him. You sick, twisted fuck. You killed my best friend. I'm gonna fucking kill you, Eggman.
And that's the end of the story. I love it so much. It definitely does have your human EXE tropes here and there, but it's definitely its own unique story. I do like the idea behind this guy having some sort of real world effect with the weird shit going on with Sonic Adventure and its eventual sequel. The story doesn't focus on that though. It's about a guy who had an unfortunate life, decided to end it all, ended up in a world that he wasn't ready to adapt to, but then eventually he did adapt to it. He had himself a better life in this world. Unfortunately though, he lost his closest friend, and he lost it. He didn't know what to do next. I want to see this story be expanded upon. What happens next? Does Sonic isolate himself away from the world? Does he become a killer? Does the world around him change just like him? If the creator of this EXE is watching this video, I encourage you to keep working on this character. I want to see more of their story in the future. Maybe you're still working on it, and if you are, I can't wait to see what comes in the future. I don't want you to abandon this character. There's way too much potential on the table, and I don't want to see it be wasted. That's it for the story. Let's get into our design. First and foremost, we have Sonic. It's very simple, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. The not so subtle changes to Sonic actually makes this a pretty solid design. The red eyes are obviously an homage to Sonic.EXE. I like the darker fur color, and overall, it just fits very well together. Then we have See No Evil. It's not bad or anything, but definitely not anything impressive. I can definitely understand what they were trying to go for. An undead Sonic. I don't know, it just kind of looks like any other EXE out there. Okay, now we're getting into my favorite one, even if it's pretty simplistic, just like the Sonic design, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It does have a name, but I did not read it, so I'm just gonna call it the Wanderer. It's like if Sonic and Jason had sex with each other, and it's beautiful. Give this dude a giant-ass knife, and it would be even better than it already is. The face mask is a constant reminder of who Sonic is now, a soulless husk, and it's just great. That's the end of this adventure. It's unfortunate, I was actually having a pretty good time. This might be one of my favorite videos I've made on an EXE, and it sucks that it's over with now. Maybe Adventure X will make his return one day. As for that, that's basically it, and I'll see you guys next time and bye. I am finally doing it. I am here to talk about Rewrite, a shockingly fascinating EXE, and all of that is true. Rewrite is shockingly fascinating. This weird 3D guy, this thing, this whatever it is something. So I'm here to talk about it. So let's not waste any time and get into it. Our story begins with a guy at a church making a computer program, well, more of a game, about God, a religious game. A lot of people start to get this game, and bad stuff starts to happen. People are being told to basically, I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, bad stuff is going on. And so the guy that created this decides to sit down with it, but it starts to get strange. It starts to talk to him, so the priest, which I should have stated that in the beginning, this guy is a priest, it says that it's God. He is horrified from this, so horrified that he immediately just dies right after. And this is where the story would sorta end, but there's a bit more to get into. We gotta talk about this game. This, for some reason, this game, or whatever it is, disguises itself, well I'm not gonna say disguise. It takes on the form of basically whatever you would want, and it's a Sonic game. And it's supposed to be a party one. There's actually a real video of what this is like. Actual gameplay, which could be animated, which if it is, it's quite impressive how they were able to give off the feeling of an actual video game here. If this is actually playable, I wouldn't mind seeing a playable version of this. I might play it, maybe not, but I'm not sure. So if you were to sit down and play this, Rewrite, or Sonic, would aggressively get, well, the game itself would get worse. Rewrite becomes more aware of what's going on and starts to realize his potential, what he could become. So, he just kills all of Sonic's friends and he harnesses people's souls. In the gameplay video, you get to see him kill Tails. Now, he might look friendly, but he's not. He has bad intentions, and he is clever, and I shouldn't forget to mention this. He is the digital manifestation of God. So your experience playing this game could get quite bad as it goes on. This guy will become more aware of what is going on, and will basically just turn into this, or whatever this thing is. So, I guess the cycle will just continue itself, or maybe he already knows what's going on. So, that is the story for right now. Pretty fascinatingly interesting concept we got here. This isn't groundbreaking, but I do like the concept here. A guy makes this weird religious program game, it just gets bad, this guy becomes more aware of what's going on. It is something. He is the digital manifestation of God, which isn't a new idea, but actual God. There is something going on here, and it's pretty cool that there's an actual 3D playable video game animation video of that, and there's actually more of them. And the overall feeling that this design has, well, I'll get into it a bit later, so we can now move on to the next segment. I am not going to be saying a lot here. We do have the cast of characters. Tails with a different color. He might actually have one tail. This Knuckles guy looks cool. I do like this fella out of all of them, and that is all. So Rewrite is able to do a few little things. He could like shapeshift, which is something you get to see in his FNF mod, where he debuted. He can sort of mess around with his limbs. His red bracelets are supposed to be the place where he keeps his souls, but the most important aspect of all, he can get into people's heads, and you can look at him differently. I think this is a pretty cool aspect to the character. Rewrite doesn't just have to be Sonic. Even the game itself could be something else. I am curious how the game functioned before all the Sonic stuff took it over. I didn't have much to say here, so let's finally get into the design. Rewrite's design gives off a feeling of creepiness and also friendliness. And I actually think the design does a good blend of this. Like, the more you look at it, it almost does look friendly, but you know that this guy does not have good intentions going on. He looks the closest to the actual Sonic, but has a few differences to him. Longer gloves with some cuffs going on, even near the shoes. He also has the red rings. I should not forget to bring that up. It's kind of like Yoshi's Story for me. I like that game, but it kind of creeps me out for some reason. It does a good blend between being friendly, but also creepy, and you could just see it going on here. I do like the aesthetic of when this happens to him. It starts to intensify on his creepiest aspect. And then we get into this, which I kind of like. I think it's just the face that's carrying it for me. and like the back spikes and ears. Overall, we got a good design here. So that is Rewrite. Just the fact that this guy could basically be anything that you would imagine, and the game itself could maybe be anything else, is something that piques my interest. So that is basically all, and I'll see you guys next time, and bye. Have you ever heard of Sonic the Fighters? I've never played it. It does have a pretty banger soundtrack though. I don't know if I'm ever gonna have the opportunity to smack down with the Sonic cast, and you know what? That's probably good. There is something dark and mysterious that resides inside of Sonic the Fighters. It will make you shit yourself, to a point where you never shit yourself ever again. Malachi. This EXE slash creepypasta character is heavily based around Sonic the Fighters, and takes on the appearance of Honey the Cat. Who the hell is Honey the Cat? I have no idea, don't ask me. She was only in one singular Sonic game, being this one, and she appeared in a few Sonic comics here and there. This character is pretty much dead and we don't see them anymore. So, what's the deal with Malachi? What is this thing supposed to be? There's not a lot of info about it. From what I'm able to gather, it resides inside of a Sonic the Fighters prototype, and it might be some sort of self-aware AI, with the abilities of being able to delete things inside of the game, kinda like Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club. This character and its info cannot be found on a wiki page. You have to go all the way to Newgrounds for it. How do I put this into words without sounding like a drug addict, or your drunk uncle breaking it down after the football game? We all know about Slender Man. We know about Eyeless Jack. We know about Smile Dog, and especially Zalgo. I can't forget to mention the Tails doll too. At one point in time, or still at this point in time, all of these guys had something in common. That was, they were ominous. They were mysterious. That's the same feeling I get with Malachi, and it works very well for this character. I actually like that we don't have a lot of info about her, and I don't mind the fact she doesn't have a wiki page. Why all her info is on Newgrounds of all websites? I don't know, but I don't give a fuck. It's secretly genius if you ask me. And oh man, this design, I do not like looking at it. I'm giving it what it wants by looking back at it. Compare this to the actual Honey the Cat. Doesn't she look like she wouldn't hurt a fly? Well, here's this thing. It's lifeless. It has one singular emotion. It only stares. You don't know what it wants. And let me ask you a question. What is scarier to you, knowing or not knowing? Personally, I'd rather be left in the dark without any answers. What else can I say? I don't want to repeat what I've said, so I'll just end off with this. To me, Malachi does a good job at representing the early days of creepypastas. When it comes to how she's designed, or just the lack of information we have about her, it works very well. That's the best way that I'm able to put it. So, Sonic.Run. This character's been stuck in my mind for a while, and I've been wanting to talk about him, so let's just get right into it. Trying to explain .Run's backstory is a little strange. Like, it's not complicated, but there are some gaps here and there I'm gonna have to try to fill in. So just try to hang on here and just listen to what I have to say. So, .Run is the original incarnation of Sonic the Hedgehog, the one we know today. So .Run basically just kinda got left in the code of a game, but on accident somebody turned him into a .Run file. I'm really trying to make this make some sort of sense here, so like, .Run over time became more powerful. At one point, he randomly detains this virus to himself that can only affect people with, like, a heart and soul. And I think that's basically it for his origins and backstory. There's really nothing else I can bring up for him. It is mentioned that Run has several different victims, and especially this one named Miles. It's mentioned that Miles is 15 and he has no parents, and he seems to be good at making music, and it takes him around 2 days to do it. So don't really know how to interpret that. I'm really trying to look for stuff here. There's really not much to talk about. We got this this sheet right here. So I guess it seems he's gone out of his way to kill Sonic's friends. Even more interesting is that it seems he can go super, which I guess would make sense because he's Sonic the Hedgehog. Why wouldn't he? There's this thing. On the wiki, it mentions that he's able to, he multiplied. So I'm guessing this is, multiple different versions of himself. That's really all I got left. He does have many different abilities. This one I'm about to bring up doesn't count as one, but he uses stuff like guns and knives. Not gonna lie, I think that's pretty cool and kinda interesting. I kinda now wonder why he uses stuff like that. It's mentioned that, his victims see a titanic circle after they're, supposed to die, but they don't die. That's interesting. Yeah, that's really it. I don't know why he's doing this, out of, anger, enjoyment, or just, the These people are in my way, so I gotta kill them. Well, there's only one thing left to cover, and that is... his design isn't too bad. It's pretty simple. It's like, take the base design of EXE, but remove, like, the blackout, the whole black eye aesthetic, and just have it be white with them having red pupils. Overall, if I was to rate this design, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. Overall, it's decent. So that was Sonic.Run. Overall, I feel like I can actually see myself liking this character a lot if it's ever expanded upon. I gotta say, there's a pretty decent concept here, not gonna lie. So that's basically it. I just wanted to talk about .Run, and yeah, that's basically it, and bye.
Eggman, Robotnik, Dr. Ivo Robotnik is a pretty evil guy. But what if he was more evil? What if he was depraved? What if he was disgusting? Well, I want to introduce you to... Starved Eggman is a pretty interesting take on the character of, well, Eggman. However, there is one thing that holds him back, and I want to talk about it. Let's get into the story a little bit. Sometime after the events of the first Sonic game, you would know that Eggman has lost to Sonic, and now he's trying to get his footing back. Out of nowhere, Eggman finds himself a charted bird, aka a flicky, and for most people, you'd probably just be like, oh, that kind of sucks, or ew, but for Eggman, he eats that shit up. He thinks it tastes good because of some sort of aroma. And this is where the problem starts to kick in. It's just so, how do I say it, forced? I have a hard time believing that Eggman would go out of his way to do something like this. Why would he care that some sort of bird died? Maybe you would feel like some sort of emotion. I just don't think that this would be something that he would do. It's pretty out of character if you ask me. It also makes the story feel like it was made to be a shitpost when, that's not the case. It's a pretty serious story for the most part. This doesn't ruin the character of Star for me. It's just kind of a dumb thing to have a part of the story. Now, I do want to say this. Yes, I do know that Starved Eggman is being rewritten, and I'm curious to see where this new iteration of the character goes. But I wanted to show you, the viewers, how I would have rewritten Starved Eggman. With 2 poorly made skits that I made with terrible voice acting and 0 to no budget. I am actually showing these to you. This is not a joke. I did make these. You get a glimpse into 2 different realities. One where Eggman tries to resist his urges to eat a bird, and one where he just, he's red for some reason. I hope you understand what I was trying to go for here. Anyways, enjoy something that is far worse than Sonic Prime. I actually like that show. Go fuck yourself, Smanik.
That blasted hedgehog has ruined everything, and I've been stranded here for who knows how long, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm so hungry, and I'm slowly running out of food. What do I do? Wait, hang on a second. Is that a flicky? Wait, no, you can't eat that. You might be evil, but you're not that evil. But yet, it smells so good and I want it. But no, I had to resist my urges. The aroma, it's so good. But I must resist. No. I can't give in. I can't do it. I can't do it. I won't do it. I can't resist it anymore. I want that flicky. That was so good. There was so much flavor. I've never had something this good in my life. And now, I want more of it. I don't know what that thing is supposed to be, but the one thing I do know is that it's a monster, and it needs to be stopped at all cost. I want that hedgehog. I want it so much. I crave its flesh. I want it. One day I will make mankind do my bidding, but for now, I'll start off small and eventually make it to the top. I have built a creation that will help me with this. So, wake up. It's time for you to go out and get me know what to do, Furnace. Obey your master.
Wasn't that absolute cinema? It wasn't. Well, you're not wrong. Those were my best attempts to rewrite the, Fat Red Man. There's people out there that could definitely do better than me, but I tried. Actually, no, I didn't. Definitely not one of my usual videos, but I wanted to try to do something different instead of the usual stick. If you want an actual deep dive into his character, go watch Dunkachi. Pretty cool guy. We once smoked weed together, I promise. Whenever the newer version of Starved Eggman comes out, I'll cover it. So that's it. Eggman do the master plan. Eggman do the master plan, Eggman do the master plan, Eggman do the master plan. Now, usually with my EXE videos, I try to go over the EXE, give my thoughts on the EXE, and have the viewer watching the video learn a thing about the EXE, but I cannot really do it with this one I'm talking about. And you'll see why I won't be able to do this. Zark used to be one of my favorite EXEs out there, and to be fair, there weren't really many EXEs back then. I thought he was a cool character and I was attached to him, and then one day I found out that he was a depraved son of a bitch. So, I stopped liking the character, and that was that, and now here we are today where I'm talking about this character. I didn't really feel like putting a lot of research into this character because he's depraved as fuck, but somehow I found out more about this character. I just had to click on this video. If you want to check it out, I'll link it below.
Now, how shall I articulate this to you without it seeming rude or impolite?
Zark fucking sucks. He might be one of the worst EXEs ever made, to be completely honest with you. I'm not really sure why I liked this guy. Okay, I know why. It was because I was a dumb fucking kid back then. Zark is basically like Garby from Dormitibus, but somehow he's even more depraved than Garby. And they take the cake for the worst written villains in any piece of media out there. But does Zark have any redeeming factors as a character? No, not really. Maybe only 3 things, which I'll get into. I kinda like that he doesn't demand for much. He just wants you to worship him, and that's it. He's a part of his own special species, and that's kinda cool, I guess. He's voiced by Darkbox. I kinda like Darkbox. He could be funny sometimes. Fun fact, he went on to go voice another EXE with the same exact voice performance, so that kinda makes him like the Chris Pratt of the EXE community. And that's all this piece of shit has to offer as a character when it comes to positive stuff, which is not really that positive. You might be asking yourself, why did I distance myself away from this character? Well, here's a bit of a trigger warning, because what I'm getting into is, kinda bad, so click off if you don't want to hear it. Zark fucking R-worded Amy Rose, and for whatever reason the creator tries to justify this. It also should be noted that Amy is 12 years old. It gets even worse, so the creator doesn't only justify that, but they also justify enslaving a fucking 6-year-old. And for some reason there's an aspect of Zark's story about humans getting horny after he started killing people, because that definitely makes a lot of sense. I have no idea how it's possible to make a character this fucking piss poor as a character. Him enslaving children and then doing stuff to them does not make him a good villain. It makes him a really dogshit villain. And it doesn't help that the creator is all like, oh, you guys don't understand, it's a horror game, so this stuff is perfectly fine, am I right? That's definitely, you know, that's a-okay. If you want to have dark subject matter be in your EXE fan game, go right ahead, but there's better ways of handling it. If you want to have Zark do something bad, you can have him do something bad, but when it stretches to this boundary, it's just not good. But does he have a good design? No, he doesn't. It also fucking sucks like everything else with this character. I know this was in the era where we didn't really have many creative EXE designs, but you had something like this, or this, and even this. Not the most creative designs ever, but there's something there to make them stand out. Zark is just Sonic.EXE, but with a color tint. From what I know, he's supposed to be the original Sonic.EXE, but get a little bit creative with the design. I kinda like the color scheming he has, but it's just not used well. Fucking Brosworth does a better job with the color scheme it has. This doesn't. I mean, I guess the one thing he has is a cool looking throne chair, and that's all. Overall, Zark is not that good of an EXE, and he might be the worst thing to come out of this community. His character could work, but you really, and I mean really, had to retool his character so he could work. You know, when I was a kid, I used to think you were cool, Zark, but then I realized you were not cool. I'm done talking about this gross menace, so I'll see you guys next time, and bye. It is no secret that I'm one of Zark's #1 haters. He's a serial groomer, rapist, pedophile that likes kids, and well, me don't like that. His design sucks, his character sucks, Jace Coys is bad at writing, and he scammed his fans out of $1, which I'll never forgive him for. And, he gets off to 6-year-olds, which is, bad. bad. In fact, he's such a bad EXE that he took down somebody's entire video for calling him out for being a P3 of the file.
Deadass. It was an accident, I swear! We're all for killing children, but we're not advocates for pedophilia. Do you mind if I accompany you all? Where the fuck did you come from? It's them. Long time no see, sir. I gotta get out of here.
Did you pray to them? I don't give a fuck. Spread them cheeks.
But what if I told you somebody took this character and actually made them slightly better? I want to introduce you to Zark Prime, a rewritten version of Zark that is not a pedophile, which is, good, we don't want that. The story isn't anything groundbreaking, but it's definitely better than its predecessor. This version of Zark lives in a world that was completely abandoned by its creator, but don't worry, they come back eventually. It should be noted that they are female, but I'm just gonna make them a guy because I think it's funnier. Demons are constantly neck at neck fighting each other for dominance, swinging those big meat sacks around. Not in front of minors, they know not to do that. Zark is a complete outcast. Oh, and also his family's dead too. Yeah, if you didn't know, he actually has a family, which is, you don't really see that often from EXE stories, so that's, something different. One day, the creator of this world comes back.
Yo, what's up, guys? I know that I completely abandoned you, but I'm back, and, I want you guys to fight each other. Yeah, just, fight each other. That's it.
Finally, I can show my dominance to everybody and swing my big meat around.
Oh, did I mention that you get absolutely nothing for this?
Fuck off.
Zark climbs up the ranks to beat every single demon that is in his way. He dominates them, he destroys them, he becomes the king of this world. For absolutely nothing in return. I guess he just did it for the love of the game.
That was so easy. You didn't even stand a chance against me. I am now the rightful ruler of this world, and you will obey me no matter what. That's all I want. Just simple obedience.
And that's the story. It's alright. That's all I can say. It's alright. There is one thing about it that does tick me off, and it has to be the whole thing where Zark is fighting for absolutely nothing because the creator of said world just decided to come back. It's just kind of strange to me, feels completely unnecessary and doesn't need to be there. It does have potential, but if I was to do a slight rewrite, I would get rid of the whole higher life form and just have it be Zark is just, he has no family, he's just out here killing a bunch of demons off and eventually reaches the point of being the hierarchy of the world. Even with my minor nitpicks, at least this version of the character has some ounce of a personality to him, unlike his original counterpart. The original version of Zark is just so fucking boring. All he is just me pedophile, me want to have sex with cream, me want to fuck the shit out of a 12-year-old and rape them. It's boring. It's fucking boring. I don't like that. And yet for some reason people actually like him and consider him to be a good EXE and will shit talk Rewrite and other EXEs. Well, they fucking suck. Dude, get the fuck out of here. Nobody cares. Get the fuck out. Nobody gives a shit about that boy-ass, bitch-ass opinion of yours. Zark Prime is slightly barbaric and gives off caveman vibes, and if you gave him a book or a manga, you just eat that shit, and I honestly find that to be extremely charming, man. From a design standpoint, it's just Sonic.EXE with a color tint, but if I can at least give this something, bro's got some muscles on him. Dude, do you go to the gym?
Actually I do. Thanks for asking.
He be a hardcore trainer, be killing them demons and fucking crushing them skulls in.
Oh wait, you can't forget my more dominant form, even more dominant than I already am.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's kinda cool.
What do you mean cool? It's not just cool, it's more than just that.
You're kinda giving me vibes to this green guy that I don't really like all that much. Did you know that he uses women's soap?
Wait, really? That's fucking weird.
I'm not like other EXEs. I actually take regular baths. The smell of blood and corpses can really leave a lasting smell. But that's why I use the Makima body wash bar. Now that's a woman who knows how to keep her workers in line.
I bet the only reason he uses it is so he can get those female EXEs to suck his crystal dick, which, like, nobody's doing it, bro. Overall, I like Zark Prime. He fixes this garbage character that I do not like. Well, slightly fixes.
Anything is better than that disgusting pedophile freak. Anyways, stay freaky.
Hey, that's not my outro. It's actually, I'll see you guys next time and bye.
That's kinda lame. Couldn't you come up with something better?
No.
Well, do you have any advertisements for G Fuel?
No, what even is that?
You can't be serious. Whatever, video's over. Leave.